Yo, what's up?
Hey man. Oh, let me just get off. Oh shoot. Ah, oh shit.
Of course, Black Magic would be in here first.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Sorry,
oh,
man. I was just getting
wh-
used to the setup you have here with the. Is there a
yeah,
link I can post, or are you
yeah,
already
yeah.
posting stuff, or?
I posted it on my Twitter and stuff, but here I can give you the link. Give me 1 second. Let me see.
Yeah, so we are just chatting there about basically reminiscing a little bit on kind of the first time I ever did any kind of a podcast or anything was with you guys, you and Wasabi, and it was basically a year ago. And Cell was around whatever 20 cents or something. And I'd listened to
Right.
your podcast before, like a couple episodes and everything. And but yeah, it feels very similar to various times where we've ran over the last year, and just this kind of this price action and this feeling within the community is it's very similar to what we've experienced before. So yeah,
It
it's pretty
it
cool.
it was real. It was really cool because during the time, it was like every time I would look on my phone, I would just have more money.
Yeah, but yeah, for sure, man. But you like you've experienced that though with various investments.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
you got a lot of good. You've I mean I've obviously follow your channel, and I follow Moon Gang, and you're one of the few YouTube channels that I watch consistently, and I follow other people. But yeah, you're definitely, as far as like talking about various investments and just the success you guys have had with your picks is pretty crazy. Like obviously Celsius is one, but you picked a lot of other good projects, man. Like I remember you talking about Theta. Theta's gone up insane amounts. Obviously, Kusama's gone up insane amounts. SNX has gone up insane amounts. Like these guys have all actually performed similar to Celsius over the last year. And you
Yeah.
know, it's but you so anyways, you're just saying, like, you look on your phone and you see your net worth going up like crazy. But you've
Yeah.
seen that with other investments too. But
I've
Celsius is a little unique in some ways, but
Yeah, it, it was like a quicker ramp up. Usually I have time to sort of really accumulate before it starts shooting up because I'm so it was a coin where like I'm okay, I've got my thesis on this coin, but typically it takes a while before the market ends up finding out about the coin enough for them to prove me right. With Celsius, the minute I jumped into the fray, it just was moving the entire time. So it was one of the few times where I got into a coin and it just kept going on me. I was like, holy shit, because I was doing my first purchases on Uniswap on that token around 9 to 11 cents, and buying up like a tenth of an ETH at a time, or 5% of an Ethereum at a time. But the gas rates were so cheap back then, I was paying like probably like 10, 15 cents on Uniswap. So I didn't care. So I just kept going boom, 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 these little purchases and stuff until eventually I end up getting kind of my bag. And then I remember just going through like 40 Ethereum on Uniswap, and that was like it took me literally, like, my original purchases took me almost like it took me about 5 days to get all my money in, because like I would literally
it's so crazy, man. Like it just shows you how early you were, right? Like even myself, like I bought through a liquid, and it wasn't crazy hard, but it was a little bit of work. Oh, here we got Pat looking at cryptos here too.
yeah.
But yeah, man, like it just shows you how early you were that you were doing that, and like just the fact that there were like the order books, and like obviously like there wasn't many places to buy sell, right? And it's crazy to think that was just a year ago, right? Like the amount that's happened with the project in 1 year, and just like how far it's come, like just with everything in 1 year, right? Like this is pretty much around the same time. Like you were
Right.
buying, obviously like whatever 14 months ago, but pretty much a year.
Yeah.
How's it
Yeah.
going? How's it going, Wasabi?
It's going better. How
You
about you
feeling?
guys?
How are you feeling, man? Are you feeling a little bit better than you were?
Yeah, better than this morning. I think it's gonna take like another day, maybe two.
Black
I'll see.
magic.
I'll
God
see how
damn.
it is. I'll see how I feel tomorrow.
What are your main symptoms, or like what just kind of hit you today out of nowhere? Or?
It started probably on so today's Wednesday, right? So it started on Tuesday. Tuesday was an off day. And then Wednesday, I would say Wednesday or Tuesday night is when it just got progressively worse. And then today, I would say it kind of peaked out sometime early morning AM, just like kind of the typical like flu symptoms. So I'm going to see how it feels day to day. once it gets better, I'll probably try to get back. Because it kind of threw off my weekly training schedule, I guess. So hopefully it clears up in a day or two, and then I can just kind of get back on track, at least for the rest of the week.
Right. I mean, yeah. Anytime you work out that much or anything like that, it does lower your fucking your immune system and stuff. Especially if you're hitting legs a lot. You know, legs destroy your immune system, especially if you're hitting it hard.
Yeah. No, it's not COVID.
Are you sure? You sure?
Yeah, I'm very
I'm
sure.
not. I'm not. Are you sure? Because like I was speculating, but I just didn't want to say anything.
Well, no, I'm just. It's I got asked that question like at multiple. Like, oh, is it COVID? I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm good.
SARS.
Are you locked down where you are, you guys, or what's going on with your situation with that?
No. So California, for the most part, is at least Southern California. It's anytime you're in a public area, like any enclosed public area, you'll people will wear masks and stuff. But other than that, it's pretty much back to normal. At least where I am in San Diego. There's really, I think most people here don't really think or pay attention too much as far no, I'm serious. Like nobody really like people get kind of they get in gatherings like they normally did before all of this, and then the main thing is really just in the public areas. That's where people were just wear masks and stuff out of courtesy. So it's not too bad.
That's funny. Yeah, it's unfortunately a true statement as far as like most people don't really think about anything.
That's so true. Those cell pumps cure COVID. I've heard the same.
Yeah.
It
definitely gives you energy, right? Like I didn't even sleep much a couple nights ago, and like I don't even feel that tired. You probably experienced that through the course and stuff. Like you guys ever notice that? Like when the prices are going up, like you get this like weird energy where you're not like you're just running on adrenaline or something or hopium or whatever it is, but you don't feel tired. It's bizarre.
These moon rocks keep me alive, baby. Never get sick.
That is true.
There is a huge conspiracy theory that I've been hearing that people have been DMing me, and let me do the voice. Ever since Miguel and Plan C and Wasabi have stopped podcasting about Celsius, the Celsius price has gone sideways. What's up with that?
It has coincided with when we've done podcasts. I remember when the price was like around $1.50, and we did that one with you guys and Kevin,
right? And
the price just shot up after that. It's also coincided with some of Kevin's community calls, and like it's just funny because like we kind of all went dark for 3 months, but you guys were obviously doing lots of your own stuff, but I was just focused on the indicator stuff. But it's funny how things do move when obviously not just us, but like many people start, it's momentum. It just adds to the momentum of everything.
Yeah, I wanted to apologize to everybody. I wanted to do more podcasts. I was having trouble finding the time, but now I forced myself to make sure to make time for these things,
Well, the chart breakout pattern, it was literally the same breakout it did when it was between 30 to 50 cents. It just took a little bit longer to consolidate, but that's very normal because the higher the price is, it should naturally take longer to build up, even though it was maybe like an extra 30 days or something like that. I don't recall specifically off the chart, but same exact chart pattern. I know crypto flipping, Kevin posted updates on it, pretty much followed that trajectory, what he was posting on Twitter. Charlie showed basically like a ABCDE. It's like almost like a consolidation pattern before a breakout. Followed the same exact chart pattern. It just took a little bit. It just took a little bit extra time before it finally broke out. And then huge breakout. Like the main one. What really matters with the altcoin plays is you basically want to track their performance versus ETH and Bitcoin, because the whole point, like if you're not putting money in those two pairs, like the whole point is to get those outsized returns, and Sal has obviously done that over since its inception. Like it has outperformed the two main coins for basically almost this entire bull market. So the Sol to ETH pair exploded. Like the chart on that was basically like a V bounce, a complete explosion in price, and it's probably going to go much higher. What is the price to sell right now? Like, is it's I'm guessing it's over $7. I haven't checked today.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been like between 7 and 750 for the last, like, I don't know, last 6 or whatever hours or more. But
yeah,
you guys basically, like, because you guys have so much going on and you're doing your stuff. Oh, we're down a little bit here, looks like. But yeah, you guys were on Moongang and stuff. You guys are talking about different things. And obviously with Celsius last 3 months, price-wise, there wasn't anything really to talk about. And then all of a sudden, you guys did that podcast recently where you gave a lot of good information, and you guys, and then just the timing of it, you guys called it pretty much right before it happened.
Yes. Do you? I don't mean to go like off a side tangent, but I talked to one of my little cousins who bought some Celsius back in the day. He bought a little bit, like a couple $100. Oh my god, this kid cracks me up. Like I'm not trying to say anything, but he just got like 600 Cell tokens. He just got a little bit.
Yeah.
He bought. And he's like, Miguel, every time I look on the app, I got another PlayStation. I got another PS5 every time it goes up $1.
That's funny when you're measuring your wealth in PlayStations. That's how many PlayStations did you guys have? That's an interesting way to look at your wealth. That's funny.
That's what kids think.
Oh, of course they do. They totally do, man. They whatever they're into, that's how they're looking at the world, right? It's like, yeah, for sure. No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's funny.
He's like, you guys, I am now worth 500,000 hot Cheeto bags.
Kid's set for life, right? He can just live on his PlayStation. He's got his junk food, and
baby,
living the dream.
I can buy you any chips you want, any Arizona drink. I got you, honey. It's a god damn. But yeah, it just cracks me up. One good thing that people keep forgetting is that in 7 days, the Coinbase IPO is happening, which is going to be huge for crypto. We're about to get an influx of money into the space. I'm so hyped.
And I just saw that or whatever it was there, that breakdown of like their first quarter earnings, kind of like just talking about how I guess they did extremely well, pretty much is the summary. So that's going to add to the fuel, right, of their listing.
Yeah, you guys want to look at the price chart?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Now, Wasabi, come on. Do chart stuff. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, so this move here, at least if you look historically at the uptrend that Celsius has been in, so it's had two really big consolidation periods. The first one was between 30 to 50 cents, and the second one between, let's say, $4 to $6 roughly. So this channel here, this is the channel. You've probably seen it with Kevin's Twitter posts. He posts updates on it and basically has snapshots along the way, along this growth trajectory. So this next move up, in terms of the multiples, I'm thinking, not financial advice. Obviously, once it goes into price discovery, it's pretty much it's going to hit a certain target, but I'm mostly just referencing off either the first or second big move it's already done. So even if the size of the move is comparable to this first move here, you're basically looking at targets that basically could go above $30 per sell. Like you could hit a 30 to 50 range depending on how big the move itself is. So yeah.
So what you're saying is I'm going to be worth 70 PlayStations.
Well, you can denominate it in PlayStations or whatever you want to denominate it in. But this is going to be a pretty big. I think it's going to be a pretty big move because the other chart that's really important to watch is
what's the time? Sorry, Wasabi. What's the time like range on that move? Do you think?
Yeah, I would say the time range if you use, let's say, the previous chart pattern as a reference point, so if you just overlay this pattern here, you're basically looking at potentially hitting peaks sometime like in the summer, like maybe around June to July, if you get that same kind of trajectory. So, and that does seem pretty reasonable. A lot of this, as far as the cycle itself, this obviously assumes Bitcoin either stays stable at its current level or still keeps increasing in value, which seems to be kind of likely based off the metrics that Plan C has put together. I don't know if you guys, those are really interesting. I don't know if you guys want to like look at that stuff too later.
Yeah, of
but
course.
Those are
we can talk about it a little bit, but yeah, actually, Dollar Cost and me were talking about how the pi cycle seems like it's completely broken.
Yeah,
I agree. That indicator's retired pretty much. It's going to cross in a couple of days. And you know what's crazy though? The one thing I'll say really quick is it crossed in 2013. It crossed on April 9th. And that was the first of the two tops. It was a false top, and basically it looks like we could cross on the same day. 8 years later, on the exact same day, it could cross, which is just kind of weird. But
right,
yeah, I don't think it means anything. It's just kind of a weird coincidence.
So what do you guys think right now in terms of someone who's trying to acquire some Celsius right now? I know we've been telling everybody to buy it at like $4 to $6, but I mean even now it's not terrible price. It's just I would be trying to accumulate it at $10. That's for sure. Yeah,
I would say that's probably your last kind of baseline to go off of. Once the price goes above $10, the higher and higher you go on the price chart, the more and more risk you're getting, at least into the market. If you buy at $10, there's still, I still think there's upside if you're buying around $10. It's just, you're not going to get like the same, you're obviously not going to get the same multiples as the guy that bought, at 30 to 50 cents. You can still get the same size of the wave. And then there's potentially still room for more during those blow off mania stages of the market cycle. But I would say just in general, for anybody that's buying in the market today, you'll likely have to manage like your positions more. But if you're buying something like Celsius, it is highly likely it's going to outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum. The main one you want to probably watch out for is the Sol to ETH chart,
right?
Because this has also had a uptrend as well through the entire market cycle, and assuming there's another retest later on, and so far this is a really strong breakout on the chart. I don't expect the Sol to ETH pair to drop any lower anymore. I think this is basically gearing up to continue back to the upside, and you could be basically looking at targets, at least during like the next local top. You could be basically looking around, if I'm reading that correctly, you could be seeing targets around 1% of an ETH potentially, which is about like a 3x
per sell.
Per sell, yeah.
Oh.
So if you get, so let's say Ethereum is like $4,000, right? And if, let's just say it hits the top of the channel around like 0.01, you're looking, which is in line, like you're looking around like a $40 sell token. So all of that is within definite reason. So I think it's going to do really well again going into the summer.
And Warhammer, in terms of AAVE and synthetics and stuff, those will probably move closer to May, because that's when all the L2, that's when all the Uniswap optimistic rollup money starts getting put in.
Yeah, that's so Uniswap V3 that starts in May.
May 5th.
Okay. Do you know if that's on? Is that on Optimism? Is that on Optimism to start or
Optimism, sir?
Okay, that's all right. That's good.
That's synthetics and AAVE.
Yeah, that makes me because that's actually very close. Because synthetics is they're at the second phase of their rollout plan for optimistic Ethereum. Like they have, and I almost consider, like, in terms of the even though the Sol token and synthetics are not like related, I guess like there's that whole synergy
sort of.
I consider.
They're friends.
There's synergy.
The leaders
there.
are
There's
friends.
synergy there. Yeah. Because
the two leaders hang out a lot.
Yeah, because there's a high APY offered for synthetics on the Celsius app, and then also just Celsius being a pretty dominant player, like in the entire DeFi space. through just
Right.
all the different protocols, which is really cool. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a lot in AAVE, right? Like Alex was saying on the last AMA, I can't remember the percentage, but it's
He was
pretty
throwing
high.
shots though. He was kind of throwing shots.
Yeah, you were talking about that on. Yeah, you were because you're yeah. When someone actually knows like all this stuff, like you guys like that's really deep into it, you kind of catch stuff that other guys wouldn't necessarily catch, right?
Right.
But yeah, you were talking about that the AAVE and everything
like,
going on there, but
Celsius low key kind of, especially as time goes on, the longer this market goes and the crazier the ETH fees get, the more and more the more and more synthetics and AAVE gets pulled up in Celsius, which give it a lot more power over those systems. So it's kind of insane. Like like look at this. So
it's a huge factor, man. And you guys are the people that probably brought me kind of to the awareness of that the most about how big of a deal it is to be big whales in these other ecosystems that are also growing exponentially, and they're also just the fact that Celsius is going to have insane leverage in these systems. It's just amazing to think about in the future where it can go to, right?
Oh, happy birthday, dude! In May. Oh, Taurus gang.
Yeah, I think the game with with like banking in general is going to change really fast over this next decade, because if you even look that point Plan C was making earlier, where the pi cycle indicators at this point it's pretty much broke down, because a lot like we're just in a very different market cycle this time. I mean, all the money printing over the last I don't remember the exact numbers as far as how much more fiat was theoretically introduced into the system, but
it's like 30. It's like 25 to 30%, and I think we're not supposed to have this issuance in the system until 2025. Is what I heard Ben Cohen say. He did a video actually talking about how when you factor in the ratio of how much money's been printed, he said that instead of us being at 60K relative to the peak of 2017 of 20K, it's almost like we're at 40K. He says when you factor in all the money in the system. I don't know how exactly how that works, but there is a video I can send you later. But because to me it's just interesting because, if we were at 40K right now, some of these indicators would not be, you know what I mean? Like it would throw things off. I don't know exactly how that would work, but it would. So this money printing has affected it, and probably will affect some of the indicators. I think it won't affect all of them, but some of them it's something to be aware of for sure, like you were saying.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely give that video a watch, because then that if you scale it based on like what it would have, or I guess what it would have been without that huge stimulus introduced, I guess you can kind of like scale or map the two scenarios to get a better sense as to where the blow off top could be, because it's very much possible like even the Bitcoin chart just breaks the logarithmic regression, depending on what that, I guess, like that mapping is, or however they interpolate, or whatever the term is, to get from like one versus the other.
The ones that I think are still really good to look at for the indicators is the HODL stuff, all the stuff to do with HODLing, because essentially you can look and see when the big money and the old money is selling. You can actually, there's different indicators to see, and they're hodling like crazy right now. And same with the miners, they're just not selling. Like, and you can actually see there's a really good indicator called binary CDD, and what it basically tells you is it's coin days destroyed, and it tells you all it is 1 or 0. That's why it's called binary. So if it's a 1 that day, it tells you that more than the average amount has been sold by these old wallets. And if you go back, you can see at all the tops, you use a 30-day moving average, and you can basically determine and see, right? I'll send it to you guys, but you can see exactly kind of a range of 2 weeks when they start to ladder out. All the old wallets, all the big wallets start to ladder out. So to me, it's like, right now we're not even close. Like that indicator is like 0.6. It's not gonna until it gets to 1 and stays 1 for like a week. That indicator is not the top. So yeah, there's all sorts of things we can look at, but it's
definitely
the old money.
I'll love to check it out.
Yeah, but there's certain indicators that if they're based on just price, or if they're based on whatever, they could be not valid, like moving averages and stuff. Like I think the HODL waves and the stuff that's to do with HODL waves is probably good to be watching.
Right. Yeah. Those aggregated metrics, because there's a couple. There's probably like three, maybe two or three on the list I'm familiar with. But that just might be the way to go, is like the aggregated, and then almost have like a plan. Like when it hits a certain number, you can just start scaling out like certain percentages of the market. I think I've pretty much decided I'm only selling, at least this cycle, I'm going to scale out half the crypto and then just keep the other half just in case like things get much more exuberant than I anticipated. Because I'm seeing some really good signs with even other coins in the market from last cycle. Like I'm keeping an eye on. I've been watching this chart for a while, but I'm keeping a close eye on Litecoin, because if that starts to break out, it also gives me a sense as to how much longer. Like if you look back at last cycle,
Right.
When Litecoin started to break out versus Bitcoin, which hasn't really, it looks like it might start doing that soon. When that happened, there was still another like 6 to 8 months left in the bull market, which would imply potentially going up until the end of this year. But there's still of course like the possibility, I think a reasonable possibility, that sometime this summer you can expect like a pretty gnarly correction like on the way. But in the grand scheme of the full bull market cycle, this still could be going on for another 6 to 8 months, which would set some pretty insane targets.
Yeah, so time wise, because I've heard like a range of like September to first quarter next year, kind of like a range of what people think. But like, yeah, what do you guys think as far as like you just kind of said, you think we could go on for quite a bit longer, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I think like
what do you think the dollar cost?
Oh, in terms of cycle top, or in terms of like how many
Just
cycles
like,
we have in crypto in general?
Just more like where you think like this specific cycle we're in, like where we could like a range of months you could see where we could peak out here.
Oh, peak out. We're gonna here. Let me pull a calendar. Like I pretty much almost got this shit mapped out in my brain at least. So, somewhere between July and August, we top out a little bit, take a shit down, go sideways for a bit, recover probably halfway through October, November, December, pretty nice months. Ethereum is probably going to lag behind, because I think the crash is going to be an Ethereum based crash, in terms of like how because there's going to be a lot of speculation. I was actually hearing quite a few podcasts and videos with actual Ethereum miners, which is was really interesting to hear. They're pissed, dude. And
what's going on with that? I've heard a little bit, but like there's quite an uproar right now, isn't
there? There's a ton of drama. Like so. I only really think hexagons really even know about this, about the S load getting increased and stuff in terms of the Berlin fork, but it coincides almost the exact same time the Coinbase IPO is happening. So what I think is going on is that they're increasing the amount of gas fees that will be charged on certain parts of the Ethereum contract, and they're brushing it right next to the Ethereum to the Coinbase IPO, so they can blame it on all these new users coming in. Well, it's all the Coinbase users. That's why the ETH prices went crazy, when in actuality it was actually the fork itself, not the Coinbase, the new Coinbase users. So I think this is like a bribe. They're bribing the Ethereum miners with this. It's kind of more hush money, essentially, to keep them down, because essentially they're going to get their I think like 15% of their mining rate kind of their mining reward taken away from them. And then on top of that, they're also they can't. So right now, when you're mining Ethereum, if you're really good at Ethereum miner, you can choose which transactions you want to pick up. So in terms of like, there's a reason why like I think Stani, I think from AAVE hasn't implemented like flash loans yet, is that if you create a flash loan right now and you do it, and if it's big enough, the miner could decide, if he knows what he's doing and they can figure it out, they can actually front run you on your flash loan and take the profit from you. So what they're doing is basically they're bringing fungibility to the Ethereum blocks. And with that fungibility, then every transaction is the same. So it stops this whole thing of like basically with all these upgrades they're doing to Ethereum, it's going to lower. It is going to eventually lower the gas fees a little bit. Plus, on top of what the the optimistic roll-ups and stuff, but the miners aren't truly happy and stuff. So there's some rumblings that they might try to do a fork at some point, but they're pretty quiet.
Even if they do, like we already know historically, like the value of their fork is going to be worthless. And I mean, I'd be great because then I just dump it for Ethereum. So it's just the whole thing. We've already seen this with like Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Cash got murdered, like just total garbage.
Yep.
Basically has no value left. So the whole thing is like, if you're playing if there's really anybody new that's really just entered the market the last couple of months, you want to follow the network effect when it comes to any controversial forks, because the mining community just doesn't have it's the investors, the developers, and then just the infrastructure, which is like exchanges and all that ultimately have much more staying power as to like the direction of Ethereum as opposed to miners. So if there is a fork, and the problem is there's probably not going to be any way to really sell the coins, because I doubt Coinbase is going to have like an Ether Classic, an ETH, whatever they call it, and then whatever ETH Berlin or something like that. It gets really confusing with all the variations. So I just expect like whatever.
Yeah, what are they going to call it, right? Because they've already had one fork, right? So
yeah,
what are they going to call it?
It'll just be called
Vitalik's Vision.
It'll just be called like, so the ETH ticker on Coinbase will remain the same. They're just going to go with the fork that's
Vitalik's Vision.
Yeah, they're not gonna introduce like any like new names to it unless it's
double. You got the double V's there. It's catchy. Vitalik's Vision.
Vitalik's Vision.
Yeah. So something like that is, so if somebody actually made a fork like that actually you'd actually be able to sell it for a decent premium and then just sell it back into ETH.
ETH, yeah. Vitalik's Vision. Vitalik's Vision.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird how we're Celsius was going up the last couple of days here when the rest of the market was kind of going down. It seems very similar to the run up we had in December, where sell was running and the rest of the market was kind of going down. It's almost like sell it seems to move in an opposite to the market. In a lot of ways, it's kind of detached from the market, it seems.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's like it's really interesting. It reminds me of another coin that I won't talk about right now. But yeah.
So what other stuff are you guys heavy on? Like I know you guys are both in it SNX.
Oh yeah, SNX. I'm a little lighter on AAVE than I am. I'm pretty heavy on SNX, but I think AAVE is going to do pretty well as well. It's just really a toss up. Also, Kusama, very heavy into Kusama right now.
What kind of targets do you see for Kusama? Because it's had an insane run. Like I was looking because the thing is with Celsius last year, right? Like Celsius was, I think, pretty much the top performing coin, right? But then you look at what Kusama's done. Like holy shit! Like the move it had. Like if someone, it's gone up. Like it hit $500 there, right? Like it started. I mean, if you go back far enough, I mean, at one point it was like $1. So the return on Kusama for the really, really early investors is just bananas already.
Oh no, it's insane. I mean, the main reason why there's so many X's is because it was one of the tokens you actually could get into. It was harder in the beginning to get into it because like sub $7, it wasn't on that many exchanges at that point. Let me think. Yeah. But I mean, me personally, I got most of my Kusama around $30, $35.
That's good entry.
No, yeah, it was really good. I didn't buy any more than that. I wasn't DCing. I just bought I bought 2 tranches, bam, bam, and then stopped, and it just held. I mean, that's it. I mean, I'm a Litecoin holder, so I know how to hold forever. But
hey, looking at crypto, you were saying like how you're going to sell like half your stack, kind of like in your crypto stack or whatever, and you're going to do other things. But which coins are you going to hold? Like I know we talked about in the past about like blue chip cryptos, and which ones are going to, kind of go through the bear market and come out, obviously as a leader in a category, right? Like, or whatever categories you define. But which ones are you looking at as far as like looking more and more like they could be blue chip, like long term ones you want to keep holding? Like the ones that are now altcoins and people would consider them somewhat speculative, but long term you see them becoming, like a massive ecosystem and a staple in like a leader of a category per se.
Sure. Yeah, that's a really at least for if you're thinking in terms of like certain DeFi protocols like AAVE, even things like synthetics, Uniswap I think is something that's more. I don't own any Uniswap, but that one has a pretty big first mover advantage with all the with the DEX is. It's really hard to say with the DeFi protocol. So it's stuff that I'm definitely going to be keeping over a long period of time. So there's going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum that I just don't sell. And then more so as like a hedge to, let's say, Ethereum, I'm going to have something like I haven't really evaluated all the smart contract plays yet. I do like what I see with DOT, but and I do hold a position in DOT, but I'm going to reevaluate a lot of that stuff during the bear market, as that's like the best time to look at things fundamentally. And then I of course have hex stakes that are basically staked out over like 10 to 15 years that by default aren't going to be. I'm not even going to be able to unlock those for this market cycle. But pretty much like all my other holdings, like it's all fair game as far as how I end up basically distributing profits. Like I do have some speculative plays with altcoins. But ultimately, a lot of those are going to get rolled up into like the upper coins. Because even with, I would say the big thing right now is in terms of the smart contract space, Ethereum has such a massive, it still has like a massive first mover advantage, despite all the narratives you hear with perhaps like these other long-term plays. Because the question that ultimately I want to see answered during the bear market, we're not going to know this during the bull market, because in a bull market, oftentimes like fundamentals really, it just doesn't really matter. That kind of stuff starts to matter more during the next bear market. But pretty much the main question for me is like, once Ethereum L2 scaling gets going, is anybody really going to be using other networks? Because right now I still do anticipate like a cross-chain environment in the future. But if L2 scaling, and this is speculative, I don't know what it's going to be in terms of the usability or how clean it's going to be. But if exchanges adopt, let's say L2, and the native wallets support L2 on Ethereum, and if the scalability, if all that is a solved problem, to me, I start to lose like what the point of like having other networks are at that point. Because it's like at that point you have the most security on Ethereum from like a fundamental standpoint. But that is an unanswered question right now. I don't know what's going to happen with that. And for that reason, I do have plays like even Polkadot this cycle that is going to do, I think they're going to have a pretty spectacular summer as well, especially all the stuff going on with Kusama. But I guess to summarize that, Bitcoin and Ethereum most definitely, possibly a hedge to those two, like Polkadot, and then I have basically 15-year ladder for Hex in terms of the T-shares, and then basically everything else I'll just kind of reevaluate during the next bear.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, I've heard people talk about this, right? Like how the platform category, there's just so much competition, and you think like, I know obviously Ethereum is leading, right? But at some point, like as these other platforms are growing their market cap, they're somewhat siphoning off from the total value. I know at some point these all could go to zero or whatever, but it's just crazy. All I'm trying to say is there's so many, like what people perceive as contenders right now. Like just stuff is pumping, right? You have like Avalanche, you have EOS, you have like all these coins that are platforms that are coming back from the dead, literally from the bear market. And somehow they're resurgent, like they're having a resurgence. Like, how is EOS like? How is it coming back? It's over. Yeah. It's like 650 or something. I'm like, how is this project? Like, how does anyone think that this project can compete? Like,
Yeah,
with all these like Polkadot and like,
right.
it's insanity, man. Like, and like, do people really think that Avalanche is gonna like all of a sudden become the platform, like, and take over all these other guys? Like,
Of course
yeah,
like it's just crazy.
There are people that believe, like, so far amongst all the networks I've looked into, the one that to me seems to show the most promise is Polkadots, because they have a really interesting scaling architecture, and then there's also a lot of projects that they're launching from the start that are going to bootstrap a lot of value. So, you know, traditionally, if you look at something like EOS, it's a total ghost chain. The price is pumping, but it is going to die in the next like bear market. There's literally no chance for something like EOS.
People forget, right? People forget how much these coins can go down. Like
Yeah.
Cardano's had insane pumps, but during the bear market, it dropped 93%.
2.5 cents. 2.5. No. I'm sorry. 1.9.
It might have even dropped more than 93%.
Yeah.
It would dropped a lot, like
it was
97% or something ridiculous, right? Like, and you have coins like EOS at one point was like, it went down to like less than $1. Like these things, like it's kind of like how much value do you hold during the bear market is like a test, because anything could bump during a bull market on speculation, but it's just ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like as far as that's why what I'm expecting during this bubble is we're gonna see like one of the most overvalued bubbles ever, because you're gonna have these $100 billion plus ghost chains that don't do anything other than like send and receive. So it's like, yeah, so it's like the fundamentals of it. I think it's gonna set up for a much longer bear market too, because it's gonna take a long time to kind of iron that out. And the one thing I still have a very strong conviction on long term are just basically things like if you're just putting monies into like the biggest caps in the market, at least what we saw this cycle with Bitcoin and a lot of altcoins is during the bear market, I mean, everything basically got completely murdered versus Bitcoin. So we could see kind of that same type of scenario play out with like Ethereum and these so-called Ethereum killers, with the exception of ones that actually bootstrap value during this bull market cycle. And the one that seems to be doing that the best is Gavin Wood's project with Polkadot and Kusama. But I don't know. Like I don't know what the answer is going to be to that. Like I hold some, but I'm also a realist. Like I've been through, you know, I saw what narratives look like during bull markets, and then I see what happens during bear markets. So I know how to prepare for what will inevitably come at some point. I just for me, it's like, since I've already had the experience, and I know Plan C's seen it, like Dollar Cost has seen it. I just know the next bear market's going to be a great time to reevaluate what the playing field actually looks like. Because if you understand like what the network effect is for each of these plays, then you can actually make some really good educated guesses in terms of like a long-term portfolio, things like that. So, but for now, I'm going to enjoy the cycle. If people want to pump EOS to, you know, $2,000, I have no idea if it's going to hit that. Not financial advice, but whatever market makers and whales want to do to coins, I'm all for it, because I ultimately have my plan to secure a lot of that stuff, because I'm speculating with some rather, well, not with a large part of the bag, but there is
with a large amount.
Yeah,
of
even
stolen bank money. There you
yes,
go.
the stolen bank money. Yeah.
So
So
what do you mean by that?
yeah, it's
I don't know. Don't get into that with Wasabi. He says.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. I mostly play I don't really get too much into the low cap stuff. I stick mostly with like the top 20 coins in the market, and then I have the three, like pretty much my big three, and then I'll figure the rest out later.
Yeah, well, you look right now, man. You look and you see like Celsius, you know, at like 60 or 70 on Coin Market Cap. I know they manipulate the market cap, but
Right.
still, like you look at it, you're like, really? I was thinking the other day when Celsius, you know, it's at 70. I'm like, are there really 70 projects in crypto that are better than Celsius? Like, and same with SNX. Like, if SNX is around 50, or like, are there really 50 projects better than SNX? Like, you can kind of look at it that way. Obviously, there's so many coins ahead of them that are just completely overvalued.
Yeah.
And it's just so obvious that Celsius should not be at 70 and SNX should not be at 50.
It is insane. Like, there's actually a business, a really profitable business on this. It's kind of insane that we're just total. There's something like a VC that I've heard VC say a lot of the times, is that they don't want you to make profit at all. They want you to just to say that the possibilities, because the minute you start making profit, then they know more or less how much money you really can make, so they could give you a lower valuation. It's this really fucked up sort of thing with like, no. Keep them in La La Land. Keep them thinking of how big you could get. That's why when like people are pitching things like the total addressable market is over $5 trillion a year of the total addressable market for cryptocurrency. Or like, you don't understand. We are going to give a blockchain wallet to every person in Africa. That is over 17 billion people. 17 billion people.
It sounds great to say it, and then you're like, what is involved in actually doing that? Like, what kind of like a team and a marketing? Like, you look at what Celsius has accomplished, right? I mean, Celsius is getting upwards of 400. No, maybe it's not that many. Sorry, but they're upwards of 200 or 300 employees, though. I think Alex said in the last AMA they hired like 20 something employees the last week. Like, so you look at the amount of people and the how much money is going to be going into this project to accomplish everything they've accomplished. I mean, to have 205,000 active wallets and, you know, upwards of 15 billion AUM and all the things they've accomplished now, like, it's like a lot of these teams when they're talking and they're like, oh, the addressable market's this much. They don't even have the team or the money to even capture that market. Like, and the amount of time it would take them to do that is just not feasible. Like, Celsius is moving at a very fast pace, considering, you know, everything. Like, the amount they're doing right now, they're actually doing is, they're not talking about it, they're actually doing it. And people even get a little impatient with Celsius, saying, oh, you know, Alex has promised these things and it's not happening like the exact day he said. I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, but it's all happening. That's the thing. You're invested in something and it's all going to happen. How many projects are people invested in where the chances of it actually happening? Like with Celsius, I'm like, I can be patient because I see a roadmap and I see what they can actually do, and they have the team to actually execute. They're not just talking about like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. They're actually able to. They can execute on it.
Right.
And they will. It's just a matter of time.
It's not fluff too, and then two, they have a huge war chest, money, and things like that. Like some of these deals that they made, like it took me a really long time to try to even understand why they made that deal with Tether, right? I was just trying to think, okay, they didn't need the money at the time, because when they raised money, well, they you know, a little bit of extra money here, because obviously during that time when they took the money, they weren't making as much money as they are now. But you could see the trajectory at that point. But I think the main reasons why they did that equity raise in the last one was essentially to get a hold of some of the deeper pockets of like Tether and the connections that allowed, right? Because if Tether or Bitfinex owns a piece of your company, you're then allowed access to certain players and certain accounts that can really, you know, help out the yield and stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why Celsius held up so much better than the rest of the competition, because the Bitfinex ownership actually really helped out in terms of keeping the yields up on the stablecoin side, as well as some of the other key players. You know?
Oh, it's just all these partnerships. It's all these behind the scenes, you know, like the thing about Celsius is they're willing to work with other parties, and they're working with the right parties. You know, they're able to. They're such an integral part of the overall DeFi space already, and it's only going to grow. And there's so many other, you know, integrations they can make, and they're actually like. I mean, obviously, Alex being, you know, the figurehead of the company speaks volumes just with his success prior to crypto. Like, there's a lot of people in the mainstream, you know, system, right? The you know, the older system, that they're gonna, you know, more likely to listen to someone like himself. And it's not just him. Like the team they have, there's other people that are from the traditional system, because you got to play ball to a degree, right? You got to, if you try to go like just completely solo and up against the whatever the system, like you got to kind of, you know, it's like Bitcoin, right? With getting guys like Michael Saylor as a spokesperson, you got to kind of siphon off like the guys that are most aligned with your vision, but are still from the traditional space, and then you kind of leverage them to, you know, over time, just kind of integrate with the system. And you try not to sacrifice too much of your ethos, but at the end of the day, you kind of need to play ball, and not everyone understands that, right? And Alex does, and the team does, and so I feel like, you know, even just with regulation and stuff, like you know, DeFi, there's some projects in DeFi that could just get hammered with regulation. That's like that's something that people don't consider, right? Like you're in a project and who knows what could happen, right? You could get shut down or crazy fines.
I think DeFi hasn't been smashed just because of the IPOs that are coming out. Once these VCs can cash out of these big plays that they've done, they're probably going to come for DeFi.
Remember we talked about this a year ago on this podcast? I remember we talked about something. I don't know if you guys remember, but we talked about like just kind of how a regulation could go, and you guys, I think you were talking with Wasabi, and you guys were talking about how you could be holding coins that end up being like criminal coins, and because you're in DeFi trading shit around, like you could be in deep waters. But anyways, go ahead.
Oh boy.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah. The regulations part of it's going to be really interesting because all right, so one of the stories I've been reading into recently was Ripple and the whole thing with the SEC. Right. So the issue with, and this is where I think the US has one last cycle to really make an impact in this market. Otherwise, it's just going to be investor money that's getting rich every cycle. The problem with the US when it comes to these types of regulations is we're already seeing, at least with a lot of value in the crypto market, is it's originating in places that aren't based like in the US. So for example, you look at the entire Polkadot ecosystem, that's the whole Asian, that's like on the Asian market. There's value from that. That's coming from developers are based like in Singapore, New Zealand. So the problem like in this type of market that we're entering, because we are entering a free market where there's more choice for the user as to how they want to vote with their money. The problem is if the US is too strict when it comes to rules and regulations, it is going to cause investor money to flock to other jurisdictions that will only hurt in the future. Like this is actually a very big problem that the US is now going to face with these cryptocurrencies. They just can't, there's no way you can have like a single superpower anymore, basically drive like what the rules are of the entire market. It's graduated past that. So and we're seeing that at least even with the politics around Ripple. And by the way, I do not hold Ripple as an investment or even out of speculation. I don't plan on holding Ripple at all for this cycle, but basically because of the whole thing as to what's happened with the SEC recently, it's now a chess move that the Asian markets are acting on, and they want to basically start issuing things like more central bank digital currencies that are based in whatever, you know, fiat currency that's coming from that Asian market is now going to be it's now going to be deployed on things like Ripple's ledger. So there's a lot of stuff we haven't really seen yet. We're still in heavy amounts of speculation in general, but the problem is for any countries that are overly strict when it comes to crypto, it's now a chess move for another country or jurisdiction to basically capture that value and gain wealth over longer periods of time. So this is the market that we're entering. Like I hope the US turns it around at least next cycle and realizes this. But it is going to take it's just going to basically take an acceptance that, you know, we're going into, you know, over the next 10 or 20 years, we are going to enter more of a free, you know, a free market as to what as far as what users are going to ultimately have you know, decision as far as voting their money on, especially with cross chain. It's going to be very easy to do that.
Yeah, it's yeah. I would be, you know, like I didn't think it was going to play out like this. Like honestly, like I thought the United States was going to be, because like one thing that gave the United States a huge amount of power in terms of and it will further continue. I mean, other than that, of course, the USSR kind of falling and stuff, was that we had the tech boom, and because the United States had that tech boom, it gave us another decade or 2 decades more of just growth essentially, because it I mean, basically, I mean, really, we the 2000 to 2010 was actually pretty good outside of like the crash in the last 2 years, but most of that decade was pretty awesome, and a lot of the money so basically, from what I could tell, if I was just looking at this like a crypto person, so basically I invested into a bunch of NFT or fractionalized fractionalized housing coins, and then I took my profits because I killed it in that market, and then I rugged on everybody, and then I took that money and then rolled it into no, I'm sorry. I took crypto tech money in the late 90s, and then rolled it into the housing stocks, pumped that shit up, and then rugged it, and then rolled it into the fucking equities market after that back again, which is really funny because that's what I saw. Like I literally, it's almost like you can almost see the evolution of a guy who was in the 90s who was old enough to trade. That he literally was buying the fuck out, like made a ton of money in the 2000 in the tech boom, then rolled his money into housing because he thought it was safe, and then made a bunch of money in housing, then rolled that money into the stock market. It's pretty insane. There's probably some dude out here that's how he made his fortune. That was his crypto journey for him.
That's the other factor, right? Is like these other markets and what happens with them too, right? Because that's the thing that I'm so hyper focused on crypto, but I do keep a little bit of an eye on what's going on in the other markets because I know there's a lot of money printing and stuff, but you kind of see like how much some of these tech stocks have gone up, and
right.
You always wonder but it's almost like they don't let the stock market crash anymore. So it's just kind of weird, but you kind of, there's a lot of like X factors going on in the world right now, right? With obviously with the virus and the lockdowns and stuff, and the economy's like, you're just like, how the fuck, like how is the world going to recover like economically in some of these countries? Like the amount of money that's in Canada, what's going on in Canada is absolutely insane. I don't want to go into everything, but what's going on in Canada is ridiculous. Because I have a business, I know like the amount of money they're throwing at businesses, it doesn't even make any sense. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like so yeah, and like I saw something today about the Chinese central bank digital currency and what they're actually proposing, and it's out of a Black Mirror episode. Like they're talking about like expiration dates on your money, so you literally can't store. Like they're saying like you basically have like the central bank digital currency they can program. So if you don't spend it by a certain day, it expires.
Yeah.
If they want to force spending, if they want to force velocity of money within the system for whatever reason, there's a percentage that they can program or they can decide. Like if you don't spend this, you'll lose it. So it like forces people to spend. And there's all this other weird shit that they can program into the money. So it's like, not only do they know all the purchases you're making, but they can like force you to spend and not save your central bank digital currencies to stimulate the economy supposedly. But it's just, it's bizarre.
Yeah, behavioral economics. They've dreamed and like they've schemed about this sort of shit forever. Like this is what like true, like to them, this is what the real like monetary policy that they've always wanted to fully control over the market essentially.
It's the perfect storm, man. And then also attach it to it. I know I don't want to get into this because we kind of ended the 24-hour live stream talking about some of this stuff. I know I can get pretty crazy.
I started getting angry at the end of it. I was so
but
tired.
That was, dude, we're 24 hours in, and like, it was just we're all our brains are mush. But I just want to rant at times there. But the thing is, I'm saying it for a reason, not because like I just like to talk about this just shit. It's because I actually think that some of this will come true, and this is where the world is going. And even though it sounds bizarre right now, it becomes more and more true every day. So it's just good to be aware of it as like a possibility, right? Like it's, the fact that they're going to tie like in China, right? Like this could happen in other countries too, and it probably will. But you look at it and you're like, okay, they have a currency they can program. It's all on the blockchain, and it's tied to a social credit score. Like so they can shut your account off if your social credit score gets too low. They can force you to spend because it'll expire. And they can see every single purchase you make. So it's like, holy fuck, like, it's just kind of bizarre, right? So we obviously don't want to see that system succeed. So it's very important. Like it's not just about making money. Like obviously I want to make money, invest in crypto, but there's a bigger battle going on right now in the world. But the currency wars have not even started yet. Like people think like, oh, Bitcoin is bucking the system, but like, look at what's going to happen. Like these currency wars are going to go on for the next decade, and it's going to be just insanity. Oh, Kevin's here.
Oh, Kevin.
Here we are.
How's it going, Kevin?
How's it going, man?
All good.
How you doing?
I'm glad I caught you guys.
How was your
It's been a
run?
while.
How was
It
the
was
run?
all right. Yeah, I just went down the beach. Just trying to like, some of those pre-planned. Just trying to have a moment out of crypto before the whole day starts. So I just like, right, let's have half an hour. Just off the laptop, no devices. So yeah, I did a little run. All good.
Perfect, man. What are you at a restaurant right now?
Yeah, just all.
Did I lag out?
No, it's his connection.
shit.
Sometimes yeah. Speaking of control, sometimes they mess with his connection. That happened on the 24-hour live stream. Remember, you were having problems. Yeah. I don't know if that's the reason.
So but... if I do it next time, I'll probably do it on Zoom or something. Probably. If it was such a problem and stuff, but speaking of the 24-hour live stream, the videos will be coming out like soon. I've got someone actually putting them out. They should either be out tonight or tomorrow. So we'll have the 24-hour live stream broken up into 3 parts, part 1, 2, and 3, and have fun. And then we'll have also timestamps probably within like end of the day, because it's 8 hours, so it takes a while for somebody to go through all that. So
yeah, thanks for doing that, man. Like I still haven't gone back and watched the whole thing, but I watched a little bit of it. And
it's juicy. It's good.
It's pretty good, man. Like considering it's our first run at it, and we didn't have like obviously Kevin and Wasabi. Like I think this next one, whenever Sell hits $10, whether it be this month or next month, we're gonna get a lot of guys on, and we'll have a lot more. We can keep the 20. We went into the last one exhausted too. Like, but this will be we'll make this one really good. But we'll get a lot of good guys on, and just the 24 hours will fly by. I think if we get like a good crew of guys.
Dude, let's do 24 hours at $24. Can you imagine if it pumped to $24 during the 24 hour? That's so amazing.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen sooner than later. Like I think it's possible this month, and I think for sure by end of next month we'll be doing it. So it's coming.
Yeah, it's definitely coming. Like I think people are underestimating like how fast it goes. So it's like we're already getting like escape velocity already. So do you see how fast? Like obviously this isn't the perfect metric, but it's a metric that I always look at, because other people, because you always have to look at the metrics everyone's looking at because they're looking at it. So it's I don't know. I don't like that, but it just is what it is when it comes to this sort of stuff. But a lot of people are looking at the what do you call it? At the total users added to the thing. I mean, we're almost at 600,000 users total on the app. That's
definitely gonna hit 1 million. Not very long. Like the amount that's being added every day. Like I don't look at the total users, but like the active users. Like I think 1,500, 1,000 a day is pretty normal now, and it adds up fast. Like because on the 24-hour live stream, we actually broke 100K. I don't know if you remember that, but we actually broke 100K funded accounts. And we just broke 200K a couple of days ago. So, it's looking more and more like we'll be between, whatever, 700,000 and 1 million by the end of the year. I mean, there's also a lot of big partnerships being announced this year. There's, a lot more going on. So apparently this next week, there's going to be 2 tier 1 exchanges announced within the next, I think, 1 to 2 weeks for Sell. One big Asian exchange, one of the top 5, I think top 5 overall exchanges in crypto, but there's going to be, because up until this point it hasn't been like super easy to buy Celsius. That's the other thing. Like, you have people earning in Cell token. You have people, borrowing against their Cell to potentially buy more Cell in different ways. But like as far as actually like buying it, it's not the easiest coin to buy, and it's not available very many places. And that's slowly changing. Like we're seeing that change here as these exchanges get added. We're seeing that change, but. Yeah.
Where's the things like when Coinbase? Like
we know they're not going on Coinbase, and they're not going on Binance anytime soon. Did you see the new website? They're just like totally bashing. Well, no, just like pointing out obviously the difference on the interest rates, and as far as they have Coinbase I think featured on their site now as far as comparison, and obviously BlockFi. I don't think anyone expected. What's that?
Oh no, go for it. I was just reading the comments.
I was going to say, like, the thing that I don't think everyone expected in the Cell community was this fall off of BlockFi and this hit they took with the GBTC and how much it's affected. I knew that when I heard about it, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't anticipate the amount of of AUM that would leave it, and in such a abrupt way, and the amount that would flow into Celsius overnight. Like, it's not just coming from BlockFi. I know it's coming from other places. There's a lot of other medium-sized competitors that have also lowered their rates, so it's coming from all over the place. But you got to think that with that interest rate being dropped from 4.5%, like if you're a whale, right? You're holding 20. You're holding 20 plus Bitcoin. Like, you're losing a lot of money every day. Like, and why wouldn't you move your money over? Like, there's just no reason not to. You're at 0.5% interest. Why even bother? Like, if you had 20 Bitcoin, like you're getting 0.5%. Like, what's the point? You might as well just lock it up in cold storage. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, it's not worth any kind of lending risk. Like, is with Celsius, like 4%. Like, when you factor in the risk, it makes sense. But with 0.5%, like, geez, just a waste of time. So all this, like, we're getting the last couple of days. It's been averaging around $100 million a day. It's just crazy. And the highest day I saw was 126 million in one day. That, like, Celsius had, I think in the first year they were operating, I think, could be wrong, but I think they accumulated like a half a million or $500 million total. So like now in a week they're basically getting the amount they got in the first 6 months or a year of operations in 1 week. So just the exponential growth, like, just ridiculous.
It's damn, dude. That's a lot of money, man. Holy shit. That's so damn, man. That's
and Joshua, I was on Telegram. He said on one of the last Clubhouse calls, he said Celsius now is the amount of AUM they're managing, the 15 billion, is actually would rank them as a top 100 bank in the States. They'd be the same size as the Bank of Hawaii.
Wow. Really?
That's what he was saying. And he was just saying, like, you look at the valuation on the Bank of Hawaii, like its stock, and I think it was like 5 or 6 billion. I can't remember exactly. But the stock obviously hasn't done anything in the longest time because they haven't added any, like, it's just obviously they're not, they're in the traditional space and they have their market share and they're just trading sideways, and they're not getting any new money coming in. But you look at Celsius, the fact that they're already a top 100 bank. It's just so early, right? And the amount of assets they can pull in, like, by the end of this year, I think that I posted something today on just like my predictions, but I think realistically 50 to 100 billion AUM is totally possible this by the end of this year.
I mean,
definitely. It's definitely possible.
Give me 1 second. Sorry. I still think we're going to hit that quarter. So I still think we're going to get I think we're still going to hit 250,000 Bitcoin in deposits.
Well, that's the other thing. I think in the last 8 days, 6,000 Bitcoin have been added to the app in the last 8 days.
Oh my God.
Something around that amount. So I mean, that's the thing that people don't factor in, is like how much Bitcoin Celsius is accumulating, because you don't even see them listed on a lot of the rankings. Like, they won't even mention Celsius. I saw one the other day. It was like largest companies, or the largest amount of Bitcoin in being held by different companies. They don't even have Celsius in there, even though it's like number 4 or whatever. We're right behind Michael Saylor. Like, I think Celsius is almost at 80,000 Bitcoin now.
Yeah, we'll pass them in a minute. Like, literally, probably like a week.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look, they're like, DeFi is like really, like, they don't want to talk about Celsius because we kind of put them to shame, basically. I mean, realistically, if you think about it, I mean, like, literally, like, some centralized entity is literally kicking all of DeFi's ass right now. And the thing is, this is what I've been talking about with the network effect, is that Celsius network has gotten the network effect. I think like an AAVE and synthetics and all this stuff will get network effects as well. The thing is the scaling is just it's slowing it down. If Ethereum gas fees were low, these platforms would be outgrowing Celsius. But because the gas fees are so high, it's allowed Celsius to just dominate and grow. And then on top of that, paying all the gas fees for the users, it really starts paying off after a while.
Yeah, what do you think happens with Uniswap with the V3? Like, how do you think that impacts the overall DeFi space, and also like Celsius, and like, what are the positives and negatives, I guess? Like, obviously, like, it's gonna have a huge impact, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for all the L2 stuff, as long as you have an exchange like Coinbase that offers direct withdrawals on L2, you're looking at you can look at some pretty spectacular, like Uniswap has a huge edge with their release of V3. So I think basically what's going to end up happening is more and more DeFi protocols are going to migrate onto Optimism. And if they go onto some other roll up, bridging and stuff like that's going to get figured out. So when that actually happens, I think it's going to be pretty spectacular for DeFi in general, because basically these narratives with like high gas fees get completely wiped out. And it's very likely L2 Ethereum becomes the native environment that most people end up using in the future because of the gas fees and because of how fast it's gonna work. Like the pipeline for that's why even the pipeline for Ethereum, like the L2 scaling with Uniswap, I think is going to be amazing. And then on top of that, the base layer is going to end up burning ETH out of circulation. So that'll also be a very interesting dynamic as well. That is just going to be a net positive for the entire DeFi ecosystem. So I'm gonna wait until I see it, but from what I've looked into with synthetics migrating onto Optimism, I think once L2 gets deployed, I think all this stuff is basically going to be a freight train for legacy banking. Like no chance whatsoever for legacy banks to really enter the game at that point, because they're already too far behind when it comes to being a custodian, because just offering, let's say, holding somebody's Bitcoin or whatever just sucks. Like I'm sure a lot of that too. I'm sure if you're using like a banking service, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't even allow you to withdraw it to like your personal wallet or something like that. There's all sorts of they basically for legacy banking to have any chance whatsoever is they would have to basically compete with whatever Celsius is offering today. And even if they did, theoretically, they don't have the network effects and the community around it, which is a big huge disadvantage there. So I don't know. I think a lot of this stuff is basically just setting up like a freight train that's going to crush a lot of legacy banking, and kids that are born today are just going to be using crypto in 10, 20 years once they start working.
Yeah, once these like DeFi apps have, some of the traditional abilities, I guess, right? Because there's certain things that people like would have to hold a bank account for, just for paying whatever. Like just there's certain things that it's in the traditional system and the banks are integrated with that people still need to kind of use, but they don't need to necessarily store like that much money in there in that system. But the banks are definitely, starting to. I've just heard different people say that like, yeah, they'll try to transfer money into the Sell app and it'll just get, the banks will just basically block it. Like there's certain, depending on what banks you're using and depending on how you're moving money around, like there are times where they will block transfers. So, they're trying to make it hard, but there's just no chance. Like there's just no way they can stop it. There's so much momentum. Do you see like, I guess Uniswap V3, like being a legitimate like competitor that can steal like a significant amount of market share away from like a Binance or a Coinbase? Like I know those companies have obviously crazy amounts of money, especially with Coinbase IPOing and Binance with its token, like it's just obviously, it's doing very well. But Binance has a lot of extra things, for traders, a lot of, there's obviously a lot of other, like there's a credible amount of features on Binance that people can use if they're doing trading, right? But yeah, what do you think, Wasabi, about like V3 competing directly with those very large exchanges and actually stealing like significant market share from them?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. We've already seen with DEXs this cycle how much market share they've grabbed from centralized exchanges, Binance and Coinbase. And the thing even with something like Binance Smart Chain is they don't have they just don't have the community that Ethereum has. Like Binance Smart Chain is it's a centralized clone of Ethereum. Like the reason there's actually a really good video from Ben Cohen that describes the trade-offs between the different protocols. And Binance Smart Chain it's centralized. It's not a decentralized chain. So it goes full circle into the issue where, you know, if it's not going to be decentralized, then its long-term value proposition, aside from, you know, bull market mania, becomes an issue from that standpoint. So I think inevitably DEXs are going to keep grabbing market share for it. I'm kind of speculating Coinbase is more aware of that inevitably happening, but they're trying to position themselves with things like compounds. I know I know that, and they're also investors with.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, don't they have
of,
like, didn't they invest a lot of money into Uniswap and Compound? Like, didn't
Yes.
I heard something about Coinbase investing a lot of money. Like, they kind of hedge their bets, right? They're like, okay, we should put a lot of money into these systems in case they kind of eventually beat us or
Coinbase
take
is
our
one of
market.
the main investors into the Compound.
Yeah, that's interesting, eh? That they, those networks have like those traditional. It's just weird how your competition is investing with you. It's just kind of bizarre, right? To just kind of have that dynamic where, like, yeah, I mean, Binance could do the same, right? They could whatever, but yeah, like at this point, you know, Uniswap, like, there's no other decentralized exchanges that are even close to Uniswap, right? Like, remember in the past, like, I don't know if it was what's it called, OX? Wasn't there?
Oh, 0x.
0x, yeah. Like there's other decentralized exchanges. I remember from the last market cycle, like OX, or sorry, what'd you call it? Sorry,
0x.
0x. Thanks. 0x from the last cycle was one of the decentralized exchanges people were talking about. Like there's other ones too. I haven't looked at that space much, but it's so.
Bancor and Balancer.
Yeah, there you go. Those are the ones that bring up Bell from last cycle. And there's just nothing that's even close to Uniswap. Like, it's completely dominated the decentralized exchange, as far as I'm aware, unless there's ones that I'm
you want to hear some missing. Fun facts? You want to hear some fun facts? So Bancor was technically the first AMM. It was the first Uniswap ever. And do you want to know how much money they received to try to make that project?
Didn't they raise like over $100 million?
Yep. He got smashed by $100,000. Low grant.
That's crazy, man. To think, like, it just shows you that funding does not guarantee anything. It's the same with EOS, right? And I think Bancor was actually one that was kind of connected to EOS.
Let's preface. EOS was the world's it was probably the world's best executed rug pull of all time.
I would just love to talk to some current EOS investors and hear what they think about, like, their future and how it's going to overtake Ethereum. And that was me. So, like, I'm making fun of myself, but that was me 3 years ago, right? So, like, but it's just crazy to think. It just shows you, when you're in a project and that's all you are aware of, you can create such crazy narratives, and your view of the future. Like think about it. There's literally 100 million people or whatever in crypto right now, or whatever there are, right? And they all have their own view of the future of what's going to happen, and all of them, like, because we do this too, right? We think, like, okay, you know, in a year from now, like, which ones are going to be leading, and what's the space going to look like, and you kind of, like, envision your future. Obviously, it's you integrate your own investments because you believe you have the right picks, but like, everyone else believes they have the right picks too. You know, it's just crazy. Like, everyone else has their own worldviews, and they're all, you know, kind of like envisioning the way the world's going to be around their investments. It's just like, there's no chance with some of them, right? And sometimes you got to kind of, like, look at yourself and say, like, am I one of those guys? Right?
Yeah, but then I look at myself and say, nah, I picked the right ones.
No, I mean, obviously you guys have done like the amount of research you guys have done. What's the worst investment you've ever made in crypto?
Oh man.
Because mine would be EOS. But what's your guys' worst investment?
Like lost money really quickly, or like
just one that you look back? Yeah, well, you could do that, or you could say, like, one that you look back on and you, like, believed was going to be extremely good, and, like, it just completely didn't pan out at all like you expected.
Wasabi knows what I'm about to say.
Yeah, I just want to hear you say it.
Fucking dick. Good asshole. All right, so God damn it. Okay. So I think this coin is still good, and it's probably going to start doing amazing from right now.
That's what someone says. That's what someone says when they're in a bad investment.
Right.
Shut up! I hate you guys. I would be probably somewhere close to about 11 times richer if I just I can't even say it. I can't. No, I'm not going to. No.
What? I don't even. I have no clue. Obviously, Wasabi knows what you're talking.
Wasabi, shut your whore mouth.
We got it.
Shut your whore mouth. Don't you say nothing.
All right. We got really close there. We almost made some good progress.
Is this coin not in the top 100 anymore or something? Like, what happened?
Oh no, it's there. All right, let's think of it as like a.
Can you tell what category of? I bet you I can guess it. What category of coin is it in? Like what is it competing for?
I would just really like. It would just be really great if dollar cost could just say the name. He got three steps along the way up the stairs and then just fucking ran back down.
Chad is saying Litecoin, but I don't think that's it.
Wait, did he just leave?
Rug pulled on us.
Rug pulled.
He's back. No, let's see what the chat can guess it. The chat's saying Litecoin, but I don't think that's it. Vanilla blockchain? I've never heard of that. Grow? Are you in Grow?
No, it was no. Okay, so like all jokes aside, oh my god. So it wasn't that it was a bad investment. It was just like I stayed in the trade too long.
It's just really funny. I'm just reading the comments while you're talking.
Well, because I only know like you guys have made so many good picks, both of you. Like just because I follow your channels and stuff, I'm like, geez, like you made so many great calls. So it's just obviously everyone has a few bad calls. Like you can't be in crypto for 4 years and not have had a bad call. Like it's impossible.
Okay, I'm gonna say it now. Okay, so it wasn't a bad call, but okay.
Is this a coin you've been holding for years? Is this market cycle? Or this is last market cycle?
He's just some fucking heavy ass bags.
How low is the market cap? You could just pump this on your own here. We should just start doing 24-hour live streams on this investment only. Just once a week, 24-hour live streams, and we'll pump your bag of whatever this is.
It was fucking Litecoin.
Yeah, but Litecoin, it could. Well, see, the thing about Litecoin though is it's still like integrated with some big things, right? Obviously, like you just I have no idea where to
go up. So the number didn't go up.
So I just want to say now that since you've I was like, dude, this is the best kind of capitulation. So since you capitulated, I decided
to go up.
I decided to enter a small position in Litecoin after your.
I'm not hearing this bullshit out of Wasabi anymore. Oh man.
Yeah, I have no idea. I haven't even looked at and seen where Litecoin is in the rankings or how it's done. I have no idea, but obviously it hasn't. Number didn't go up as much as you expected when you expected it, right?
Yeah, no, it's okay.
But
so here's
the cycle's not over though. Didn't Litecoin run towards the end of last cycle?
No, it did. It look, I did really well with Litecoin and everything. The thing is like I should have. So I made where I really made a lot of money on Litecoin was, of course, 2016 to 17, ton of money. Sold, bought back at the bottom, bought back the actual $22 bottom, which is awesome. It went, and from there I held it. I should have dumped it right after the halving. Except
right. So you held it back down. Like it had a huge pump and then you held it. That's what you're mad about.
Right. So I played the halving and everything correctly. And honestly, it was one of the things that actually saved my portfolio at the time. But it was a really good lesson in terms of like not getting too married to a coin, because it wasn't just the holding of it. If I just held it onto it and had my bag, it would have been fine, because I still have some really nice bags of Litecoin, but it was all the dollar cost averaging that I could have been doing into other coins at the time. So I had been accumulating Litecoin and Litecoin.
It's the opportunity. You're just saying it's the opportunity you lost, basically.
Yes,
opportunity lost. Yeah.
Because I've been so correct on my plays on the other stuff in my portfolios that, like, Jesus Christ, like Jesus Christ, like. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like,
I know what you're saying.
Probably cost me about $10 million. Probably, if I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. No, I know.
Well, maybe not that much, but maybe like at least a few million for sure.
Yeah. No, it's. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing to learn, but the thing is, like, you obviously you've done extremely well, so it's like, yeah, you can always do better, but like, and especially when you know that you have the experience that you could have pulled that money out. But anyways, we'll see what happens, right?
So,
like, it's,
I didn't get rugged. That's the important part. It was.
You're in a project that's not a scam. That's for sure.
It's going to go up. Yeah, it's going to go up.
The good news is that after the indicator went off, I decided.
Can you stop smiling while talking to me right now? I can hear you smiling in your voice.
Wasabi. So Wasabi, you think Litecoin's going to go up then soon if you're in it?
Yeah.
So that's good for dollar cost.
Well, I think so, because dollar cost capitulated most of his bags.
That was your indicator. Okay. Okay. I just realized that was your indicator. I'm like, I thought he had some Litecoin indicator I thought you were watching the charts or something, but dollar cost is the indicator.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's way too funny. I think it's gonna have its. So the main things for me that are giving me kind of vibes similar to 2017. For one, it's revisited a 4-year low versus the Litecoin to Bitcoin pair. So for one, I mean, I'm just thinking, for whales, they're gonna have to start pumping other coins to get more Bitcoin. Litecoin seems like it's easy bait because it's listed on every exchange. And another reason is that dollar cost crypto capitulated most of his bags. So
shut the fuck up.
Wait. I thought that there was like a ton of institutional buying for Litecoin. Like, is that all?
There actually is. So Grayscale, it's their third largest held asset is Litecoin. So
are they still buying it, or they already accumulated what they needed?
I mean, I think Grayscale in general across everything they're actually not buying that much crypto at the moment. Wait, what is that?
What is going on?
Yeah, but they had
What happened?
Nothing good.
The Grayscale bought over. They have over 2% of the circulating supply of Litecoin. It's their third largest held asset. And then Alex Becker's channel on YouTube, Crypto Journey, and recently Data Dash have been promoting it or talking more about Litecoin. So I think at some point it's going to re-enter price discovery. It's coiling up right now. Where it is on the price chart, it's coiling up under its last major resistance before re-entering price discovery. And what I'm anticipating is I do think it is going to go parabolic at some point and potentially hit like the $1,000 mark. So in the grand scheme of things, like the bags itself that Litecoin had, but not anymore.
Fucking lies. What are you talking about, Wasabi?
So that it'll likely do pretty well at some point. It's just the opportunity cost of being in that when it wasn't doing anything versus something like Cell Token or like Ethereum or other coins in the market.
I'm going to release Look into Crypto's golden chart on an NFT.
How dare you?
Keep playing these games with me, Wasabi.
It's okay.
What's your worst investment, Wasabi? That's your turn.
Wait, for Litecoin or
no, your worst investment in crypto. Like either not. You don't have to say like you lost the most or whatever, right? Like just something that you're not proud of, I guess. Like obviously EOS is mine, and I guess Litecoin for now is his. But is there something that you're like just totally went the opposite of what you expected?
I had one that I definitely lost money on last market cycle. This one fucking guy with the skateboard, dollar cost crypto already knows where I'm going with this.
Yes.
This fucking guy June and that shitty Omise Go, terrible, total trash. Honestly, and since we're in a bull market, I won't even be surprised to see that thing get pumped really hard. But it is the biggest piece of garbage. June. So basically, June did a double. He basically double rugged. So there was Omise Go, which was the biggest piece of garbage ever. And then at some point in the bear market, he was on this video with this team from like Taiwan or something like that with this project called Electrify Asia. And that coin did like this huge pump in a bear market. And then they just dumped all their bags and then the coin just died. So yeah, anytime, actually, I haven't seen June at all this market cycle. I guess he took the money and ran last cycle. But yeah, for me it's OMG. That was my learning experience last cycle with a bad ERC20 coin.
Yeah. I will say this though about holding Litecoin for so long is I've got these diamond hands that I think most people in chat could not. I held through all of it, bro. All of it. Never stopped buying. I want you to know this, so I know I can make it. I can make it through this market. That's why I have so much confidence in crypto. Is just I know I can hold something that doesn't go up for like not like EOS, but like I can hold.
Yeah, I actually do think whatever coins you're still holding with that position you had, I actually do think you are going to get a very good exit at some point during this bull market. It's it's the whole thing where if you're buying coins, especially in the bear market, if it's not like if you're not buying, let's say maybe like the main coins or something like that, you have to know like what the market structure looks like for the coin that you're buying. And historically, I mean, the cycles on Litecoin, this isn't anything new. Last cycle, it had its moments during the bull market only. It wasn't a good buy during the bear market. It was a good buy during the bull market. Did the same thing back in like 2013, 2014. It looks like it's basically on the same trajectory this time. So it's one of those, it has its place in the market as a speculative play during bull market cycles. So I would never buy Litecoin, let's say in the depths of the bear market. I would only look when that opportunity presents itself, like every cycle. And I wouldn't throw your whole stack into it. Just because of opportunity cost if it doesn't work.
Like I really care about Litecoin and I like it a lot, but like I'll have to admit this with the amount of competition that's coming into the space, even the ETFs and everything, it will always be in the top 20, and then during bull markets will eventually make its way back to top 10. But it's always I think it's heading towards being in the teens long term. In terms of market cap and stuff, I don't think it'll ever go into the 30s or anything like that. But I think it'll always be in the teens to the top 10s.
Yeah, I think it's gonna even this cycle because I looked at I think there's honestly a lot of coins. Well, just really a couple at this point that are going to flip Litecoin in terms of market cap, but that doesn't mean Litecoin can't hit like a $1,400 price. It just means there might be some other coins that pump harder on the way up for the rest of the way. But it does look like over time, it's going to end up somewhere below. I don't see it in the future in the top 10 anymore, aside from whatever it maintains this cycle.
The top 10 is becoming, pretty hard to get in and stay in. Like it's because there's
really
always,
hard,
something pumping like crazy. There's always, and just the quality of projects now, like compared to last cycle, like you could be like EOS was at number 6 at its peak. Right now it's in like the mid 20s, right? You see coins drop off significantly, right? And to maintain a top 10 position now is it's not an easy feat with the amount of projects and
it's not.
it's also the amount of movement and the amount of pumping, like, and just how everything, like you have to, even with Celsius, man, like Celsius went all the way up to whatever it went up to, like it was like in the top 30 and now, dropped all the way down to 70, like, and it's a really good project. So it just takes a while to sustain and stay in the top 10. You got to be doing a lot.
Right. And that ETF money, people are, I mean, I think it's Bitwise is going to win it if I had to put my money on it. But like when that ETF money comes out, it's going to, like, the amount of just easy capital that's going to flow into I'm right now because it's not going to be a top 10 fund. It's probably going to be either the top 20 or the top 30, or they could even go top 50 coins. Because right now, because how green it is, like I think a top 10 or 20 fund is too small. It just because they have a lot of coin that could go to zero and get out of there. So maybe a top 50 might be a little bit more better. Just wait.
It is kind of cool to think about though, right? Like you have the S&P 500. At some point, we are going to have a crypto version of that, right?
Yeah,
and whatever amount they end up doing, but it's kind of a cool thing to think about. Like you can be, okay, are you going to be invested in one? Like just how the amount of people that are going to just buy the index of crypto versus actually buying a single crypto. Because in the normal market, I mean, the majority of people just buy the index. They don't buy individual investments.
Yeah, I just know that since what'll be really what's really good, at least for for all these derivative products that are entering the market today, through different stock exchanges. There's that that recent one on the Swiss exchange with like the the ones with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. That gives me confidence that with this play that I have in mind, I will be able to dump my overpriced bags of Litecoin onto boomers for their Bitcoin at a significantly higher price and take all their Bitcoin and just never look back.
Never look back.
I don't know how you guys do it, man. Like I don't know how. Like I'm just a different type of investor than you guys, because like you guys are able to stay in coins during swings and then move back. Like I just can't do that. I don't. It's my personality. Like I have to. It's way more boring because you guys always seem like you're doing a lot as far as like, especially with Swabi, man. You're like you're looking at all the charts. You're able to see when stuff's undervalued. You're able to swing around and accumulate more of a coin you want to have long term. I'm boring, man. I just hold Celsius and Bitcoin. Like I just, it's not much to talk about when you're holding two investments. Yeah. And like I held.
You're still holding just Bitcoin and Celsius. I thought you added some other coins.
No, man. Like I have basically, this is me since I came in crypto.
Yeah.
Came in, bought EOS, held it for 2 years. Even though I was underwater for most of the 2 years. You're talking about Litecoin, man. I held Bitcoin for 2 years.
I'm sorry for your pain, sir. I'm sorry.
That's what you said, man. You said about like how you develop these diamond hands. Like,
yeah,
you and I sold at a 50% loss, but it allowed me to get into Bitcoin and sell and do extremely well. And like I'm up, a significant amount. So it's anyways, the point being that I've basically had 3 investments in crypto in like, well, whatever, 3.5 years, 4 years. So like I'm just a unique in that way, but I am going to be buying into the equity here for Cell token or for Celsius. I'm actually considering selling 2 Bitcoin to buy the equity. I'm already putting in some money, but also thinking of going in even heavier into the equity.
That's probably the last time a normal person. I mean, that's the last time a normal person is going to be able to get into the equity round ever. I mean, like,
well,
yeah, probably.
It seems like the evaluation is it's looking more and more like it's going to be $3 billion, which to me is just so undervalued. I mean, we don't know for sure. It could be higher than that. But you look at where, something like a Coinbase, their last round that they did was at 8 billion before they IPO, and now obviously the IPO is looking like it could be 80 to 150 billion. I just don't see how I don't see how Bitcoin outperforms sell equity. I just don't see it. It's even possible.
It's probably not.
It's actually like mathematically impossible. And I was trying to figure this out, and I'm like, the fact that Celsius is gonna have 100,000 Bitcoin here very soon, and like Dollar Cost said, like they're gonna get up to 250K pretty quick. So if Bitcoin has some insane run, the amount the equity is going to increase just because the amount of Bitcoin they hold. Like you capture all the value of Bitcoin in a leveraged play by holding sell equity. Plus you capture all the value of sell token at the same time. It's just you're also capturing the value of the top 40 coins that are generating yield.
Yeah,
like the equity is just insane. Like I believe equity.
Yeah, 3 billion is really cheap for the. Yeah. what I would like to do, since I'm based in the U.S., if that equity if I'm able to buy it over the counter, which maybe that's an unrealistic.
There's a secondary market. I believe it's going to be on Bank of the Future. Right?
But those assholes having really shit lazy motherfuckers. No, bro, Simon Dixon, what a lazy fuck. I don't know what's going on with him. Like, maybe it's U.S. regulation or something, but I don't even see the Europeans having anything, or the Asian market.
I just want to funnel because I have this 401k plan from my former employer that I want to funnel into. Like if I was able to take that into my former 401k plan and funnel it into Celsius equity, I would just throw all of it into there, like no questions asked,
like
and just all of it. Yeah,
all of it.
Yeah. Because I already have my my retirement accounts aside from that set up long term, and then there's just this leftover money to the side that is looking for a home, and that would be a nice home to just store the money in for a long time.
Yeah, if you guys joined the course, actually we went over the equity round in pretty good detail with Kevin. But
because think about it, guys. Like think about the equity options within the crypto sphere, right? You have obviously if someone got in early to Binance, they would have done really well in the Binance equity, or if you got in early to Coinbase, you would have done well. Like there's been some equities that have gone up a lot, but when has the community had an opportunity to buy into the equity before it goes public? Like, and it just hasn't happened. Like there's, right. I guess no, it's not. Well, it's not entirely true. I guess Bank of the Future they have raised money. That's actually not fully true, but there has been opportunities on Bank of the Future, but just I guess to the level of what the Celsius company can be as far as a player in the space, like it's going to be equivalent to like a Binance or Coinbase, right? And getting in on these early funding rounds is just kind of unheard of. Like it's not an opportunity that the average guy usually gets.
They don't get. I mean, you have to really be really well connected. I mean, let's not even talk about the equities market because that's literally a boys. I mean, like a fucking, it's a good old boys club and shit. We're like, good luck on getting any of those deals. But like in crypto, it's even like that in crypto for the most part. I mean, you got to know somebody and or it's open, but no one is talking about it. So you already have to already know or be in the funnels and there's all this other stuff, like especially if as I've been really looking into all this stuff, let's just say basically you have to invest into at least a minimum amount of projects a year, and a lot of them are really bad, but sort of what you're doing with basically the kind of the hustle is like you have to invest in some of these other projects it's because other people and other funds or friends of these people have these coins that they want funded, and then if you fund these coins magically, like, oh, Miguel, here you go, man. Let me show you a deal. I'll get you into the Coinbase IPO because you invested into these 3 projects that I rugged and took the money from. Oh, thanks, dude. And then I invested into Coinbase, and that's literally what happens.
You had to have connections. Like there's a lot of these things. If you didn't have the connections or you didn't have the opportunities, like you'd have to be. Yeah, you basically have to be given the opportunity in a lot of these cases.
Yeah, there is stuff like there is early stuff, but it is amazing. Like honestly, Celsius doesn't even have to. Celsius, if it was just a regular company or something, they would have. I mean, not a regular company, just a regular crypto company. They never would have gave the public that 20%, that 20 million.
Well, and the valuation of the first round is just insanely low. It was 120 million valuation at the time. Cell Token was screaming up. It's actually very similar to what's happening right now. And I remember the initial equity round. Alex, I remember him being like I kind of was reading his body language, and I could be completely wrong on this, but I was thinking like he's a little bit realizing that he totally undervalued the equity round, but he already locked in like Tether's buy. And Tether's he couldn't change it, but like it didn't even make sense anymore. He basically got the equity for free because the token value had gone up so much that it was basically at $120 million just in Cell Token that they hold in the treasury. So you're basically getting the company for free. It's going to be similar now. Like if you look at the value of Cell Token after this run up, like if the other thing is like you speculated about the bank you were talking about on the Moon Gang. The bank that you think could be the lead fund, the lead investor in this round. It was Mellon.
Yeah, Mellon Bank of New York. So I had noticed it had come across my desk or my virtual desk that that they led the C round for Fireblocks equity round raise and stuff. So I was like, Fireblocks is the main custodian for Celsius. So I was like, if so, they're basically the bread and butter of that bank is essentially like lending and stuff and everything like that, and also earning interest on money. So what I was speculating, it was like, okay, so if these guys just got into Fireblocks, they probably did that to compliance in order to be able to lend money to Celsius or something, but like they needed an extra insurance. So if they actually own a part of the company, then they can verify that their funds are going to be safe in crypto. And that might be like the extra check mark that they needed to essentially to invest into a crypto company with large amounts of user funds into Celsius. And that's what I think is kind of going on right now.
It's a very, very, very interesting idea. Like it's definitely possible. I mean, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that would have to happen. And Alex did say on an AMA that the lead investor in this round is not from crypto; it's from the traditional world.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's only so many options about what that could be. But yeah, like you said, the compliance, like what level of compliance would one of these big players coming in have to achieve in order to satisfy? Because it's weird. Like you have someone coming in from the traditional system into this new system. It's like Michael Saylor when he went and bought Bitcoin. For him, it was a little easier because he was the main guy. But
yeah,
he still had to go through whatever he said. Like it was 3 or 6 months of like making sure everything was kosher. It's the same thing. Whoever's this lead investor, and that's why I think this equity round keeps getting kind of bumped. Like Alex keeps saying it's coming, but like there's a lot. These like I'm really interested to see what the lead investor is because I think it's going to wake a lot of people up when you see the caliber of people. Like Tether investing in the first round was like, okay, that's interesting. Like Tether's well known, but also Tether's linked to at the time was linked to a lot of like shenanigans that people speculated on. And it wasn't necessarily the best name to be tied to, right? Like EOS is tied to Tether. Like it's not like a good name to be tied to, at least at that time. I know they've changed things and like there's more, that's come out about them actually being backed and stuff. But you look at the potential of like what's a big mainstream company that's invested with a crypto project? Like really big. Like are there many like actual I don't know, like what I guess there's funds and stuff, but like a traditional big player investing in a crypto project with like and putting in significant amounts of money, like this could be $50 to $100 million coming in this round as a lead investor or more. Like it's not like it's a little bit of money, like to put in, so yeah. Are you guys gonna try and I know you're in the States, are you going to try and get into the equity round? Like the last round is already up like 25x from the 6 months ago.
We figured out a way. I mean, at least me and Charlie and a couple other people, we figured out a way through a joint fund to be able to get into it. So we're going to throw in big.
Yeah, and you got your Bank Future tokens and everything.
Oh man, bro! Like if you only knew,
of course you do. Of course you do.
If you only knew.
Why did I even ask that? Of course you do.
I've been prepping for this for such a long. I was buying that bullshit ass token since it was like dead. I'm talking about dead Plan C. I always remembered like, oh, the thing. I never forgot that. So I was like, Bank of the Future token. So I would be throwing. I remember I would have just $20 left over, and I would just throw spare change into Bank of the Future forever. That's how I got a gigantic bag of that token.
Yeah, like so. Basically, we're gonna get a heads up on it, right? So you get like a 48-hour window if you hold those tokens, where you're gonna get a heads up and be able to increase your likelihood of getting in. But
Yeah.
I do believe the only thing that's stopping the equity from selling out in like 24 hours is just Bank to the Future's like incompetence. Because I think that thing could, if they had like an actual like really good platform. I know Bank Future has some advantages, but they have all the licenses and stuff. But as far as like their customer service, you know, from what I've heard and just emails I've sent that never got responses from, I would say, you know, this equity round could sell out in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of interest, and yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a race, I guess. Like it's just kind of when you find out, just yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like Alex didn't seem to think that the tokens were necessary. He said on the last what was it? What do you call it? The Clubhouse. He's like he didn't think the tokens were necessary, but
The Bank of the Future tokens.
Yeah, that's what he said. But I mean,
yeah, and I kind of believe him. I mean, well, you can get in some other. If the platform, all right, if that platform, dude, if that platform could have a secondary market where you could actually buy and sell that equity, oh my god, that token would be worth so much, dude.
It seems like they could do so much more with that token. Like what they've done. I mean, because they do have like they have a business model, right? Like they've, you know, there's a lot of big projects that have used Back to the Future to raise a lot of money, right? Like
yeah.
But the token, like there's seems like there's some token economics they could work in with that token to allow for all sorts of advantages. I guess you could say, like, I don't know how many actual investors use it, and like as far as the amount of people on Back to the Future, like maybe the community's not like, you know, massive enough. Even though the people on there are probably whales and big investors, a lot of them, like there's just not that many users that use it. I heard there's like 10,000 people or something that have accounts or are investing, or, you know, but they're not like super active. Like it's not like you're doing an equity investment all the time. It's just like kind of like a once every whatever couple years or whatever for a lot of these people.
Right.
What about you, Wasabi? Are you thinking of trying to figure out a way to get into it, or?
Yeah, if I can, I'll have to look into. I'll have to ask DC more about that joint investor account. But I'll see if there's any options as far, because really the money I ideally would like to use for something like that is just money I have stored away in my previous like 401k plan. But there's probably going to be like certain restrictions that come with that. So I'm not going to be optimistic on it, but if I figure something out, it'll definitely be a nice surprise.
Yep.
I think it will create a lot of hype though. Like it's just kind of history repeating itself, right? Like looking at the first funding round and just what the token was doing around the same time. Like I mean, they're going to raise over $100 million most likely. And yeah, it's also going to be good for Cell Token. Like I think this whole, like, it's just the whole ecosystem of Celsius growing and
it's going to be big news.
It's going to be like the lead investor is going to be huge headlines. Like the amount they raise is going to be huge. How fast it sells out. The fact that it'll probably be oversubscribed, they're going to have to probably increase to 20 million. I honestly think that Alex, I could be completely wrong, but I think Alex actually said 20 million initially because he wants it to be oversubscribed. So like just like the first round, they ended up increasing it because they wanted more community to get in. I think they're going to do the same. I think it'll actually be over 20 million because it just looks good on headlines when you have oversubscription into funding rounds. Right. But that might be all wrong. But yeah, like you combine everything, right? You combine the raise, you combine the fact that the lead investor's name is going to be huge. Then they have these mega deals coming this summer or towards the end of towards the end of the summer. That'll get announced, like whatever these mega deals are. You know, there's so much positive news. You have the web app or the desktop version coming out the next few weeks.
I need to download it.
In-app swaps.
I can get it.
Yeah, like there's so much stuff, right? Like there's just this next couple months, the amount of news and positive like headlines about Celsius, like big deals, like actual like massive headlines. I just don't see how more people aren't going to want to buy Cell token, because they're just, yeah, and it's going to become easier to buy Cell token. That's the other thing. But yeah, I think for people that don't get into the equity, like holding the token, it's going to do extremely well. And the thing about the equity is you are locked in to a degree. Like maybe they'll have these secondary markets, but it is a longer term play. And you're not getting the yield like the Cell token. Like there's advantages for both. Basically, is all I'm saying. Like the yield, the token has the yield. There is like a 5% fee with the equity. I mean, 5% is not a huge deal when you're getting these crazy X's, but there is a 5% loss when you eventually cash out of the equity. So yeah, some people aren't aware of that, but like yeah, you will lose 5%, which is just the fees of the which is actually low compared to a lot of the angel investing. Like when you do angel investing, usually the fees are way higher. So Bank the Future being 5% is actually really on the low side, but it is a cost. Yeah. Right. Anyway, so there's advantages with both, right?
No, definitely. And what do you think about this, Wasabi?
You mean as far as the fees, or?
Oh no, just in general, like all this stuff, like, in terms of like the equity round and stuff. Would you do it in terms of would you actually like?
If there was a way for me to get in, absolutely. Like for me, it's what I like with the equity is it gives me it just makes me think more in terms of like traditional investing through things like stocks. I think it hits that part really hard for me, just aside from cryptocurrency. Like if somebody, let's say, didn't want to if they didn't want to buy like crypto or something like that, to me it's just another way for them to like invest in the business itself. So the equity to me seems like a very it's a very logical play to me for people that want to stay strictly in the equities market but don't necessarily want to dabble with cryptocurrencies themselves. So I think it's a good long-term play, because there's already interest with bringing in, let's say, different products and services through some kind of app. Like one of the main ones I'm following right now is SoFi. It's very different from Celsius, but what they're doing is they're trying to basically aggregate a bunch of different financial products in the same app, where you can just basically access everything from one location. And part of that was like cryptocurrency. So if I'm looking specifically in the cryptocurrency market, if I, let's say, want to invest in something that relates to like basically services like lending and borrowing services, but invest in the business, like the equity play just seems like an easy play, especially if it's only valued at 3 billion. I mean, that's nothing. Like if you look at basically the size of that compared to equities plays, like 3 billion is you're basically buying when it's like speculative, and then when it starts pumping, like you make some pretty crazy returns on that. I follow different equity plays. I've seen it with weed stocks that pumped like crazy.
You smoke weed?
Something like actually I don't smoke any weed actually, but I do speculate on like certain equity plays. Like I've speculated on weed stocks before. I don't own any right now, but a lot of those companies, I mean, they started at small, 50, maybe 1 or 2 billion market cap. Before.
Have you heard? Hey, Wasabi. Have you heard of? You guys can look it up. It's a company called Humble Finance.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I have a friend that holds them, but literally, they have their market cap, just because they're related to crypto, their market cap is like 4 or 5 billion. They literally don't have an app. They don't have any users, and they don't have any AUM. And they're valued at more than Celsius right now. Like if you look at Humble Finance, they have a website. They obviously have maybe a few things behind the scenes, but they don't have an app launched. They don't have any AUM. They don't have any users that I'm aware of, and they're just a total speculation and they have like a $5 billion market cap. They just got pumped up this year because they're related to blockchain, and they're creating these ETF instruments or something. Like, it's just, compared to what Celsius actually has, like it, and the thing is, like, the premium that these stocks are going to get in the future, like during whatever runs in the future for the blockchain overall space, like the first to market, like obviously Coinbase is the first, but like there's going to be, you know, a few dozen IPOs of significance that
Right.
are going to get premiums, just like the dot-com boom. You know, you had these insane evaluations. Like, you're getting the, if you're a solid business, but then you're also getting the fact you take advantage of the blockchain space just growing and just the buzz around it, and there's just going to be insane money thrown at these IPOs. For people that don't want to hold cryptos but they want to hold an equity that's related to blockchain, they're just going to get even higher valuations than they necessarily should.
Celsius is going to have a higher IPO. Much. I think Celsius might have a bigger. I mean, well, okay, wait. Celsius is going to have what, like, probably
depends when the IPO. If they IPO in 3 years, if Celsius IPOs during the next bull run, they could have an insane valuation.
The biggest IPO in crypto history.
It could be.
Yeah,
I think it would be. If it's during next, unless like Binance IPOs or something like crazy. But
so imagine $1 million in 5 years, if Celsius is still kicking and doing good and stuff. $1 million BTC on app.
Well, hundreds, like they like by next bull run, right? Whatever that is, they could have whatever 10 million, 5 million users and whatever, like AUM, like hundreds of billions of AUM, right? Like a half a trillion AUM or whatever, like, 10 million users and, like you said, like 500 to 1 million BTC. Like, what would the valuation on that be? Like, just.
My stream cut out there for a second, so I missed the last few snippets of that.
Oh, just like speculating on like what their numbers could look like, during if the IPO during next bull run, say 4 years from now or whatever, you look at what they could have accomplished by between now and then, as far as the users, the active wallet, like the actual AUM, the users, the Bitcoin in the app, the impact that they'll have within all the ecosystems to do with like DeFi, and the amount of coins they're going to hold in all those ecosystems. Like, you factor in everything, right? Like their valuation could just be absurd.
It's
like
it's 28 million users. 28 million.
Yeah, it can go to something like a equity play could go to like a 100 billion market cap. Like
higher.
Yeah, well,
higher. That's a base case. But you could definitely go higher. Yeah, that's a base case. You could say like.
Yeah, you have to look at it over, because if it starts at 3 billion, that's basically you're looking at a 30x on something like that. I'm just looking at like basically the multiple amplifier you get if you can get in on the equity rounds and then just never sell for 5 to 7 years. That can be worth a lot. Yeah, I'm just reading through some of the comments right now. Yeah, the psychedelic stocks, I mean, this is totally different from the Celsius equity play, but I have money in shroom stocks too. I have some speculative money in there that I'm just not selling ever, because I saw what the weed sector did when that went into a speculative bubble. So I only put my money into things that can pump. Like, I don't. What
about NFT? Like, the NFT is like just the bubble and the craziness that's going on in that space. That's only going to be even crazier next market cycle. Like, there's going to be another massive speculation bubble with NFTs, and like a lot of those, it's not going to maybe happen anytime soon. Someone asked Alex about this, and he's kind of basically said, like, I'm going to wait till there's something like I know is legit. He didn't say those words, but he basically implied that like it's all so speculative at this point, like they're not going to mess around with NFTs yet. But like, yeah, in 4 years, next bull run, you could see a lot of NFTs on the app. Like, you could see all sorts of stuff, like just people boring against their NFTs. Like, who knows, right? It's just there's so much possibility. That's the thing. It's just such a new space, and the amount of like opportunity for Celsius to take advantage of, wherever the overall space of blockchain goes, Celsius is just going to be the massive player in those sectors. Like, that's the reason why I'm such a big believer in Cell Token, and obviously Celsius as a company, is they're just so well positioned to take advantage of wherever these speculative bubbles and like legitimate values created. They're just going to be there, capturing and siphoning all the value, aggregating it, and then the users are going to benefit.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I guess in terms of in general, when it comes to NFTs, that's something I'm not speculating on at all this cycle, really, other than maybe just throwing like just gamble money here and there if I'm buying NFTs. Other than that Decentraland thing, Litecoin and I did back in, it was like around mid of 2020. It's like right around COVID, like buying certain NFTs in that game. But other than that, yeah, I'm not going to speculate on NFTs. It's too, I don't understand enough about the market to make a good decision on that. So that's something I'm not going to bother with. I just know how the crypto markets, like I know the charts. There's not like a chart I can look at for NFTs and the value of like NFTs. Like there's actually a really good, because I do watch like some of Richard Hart streams, and there's a good point he made with NFTs. There's no order book you can sell into, so like its value, there's not really like a real value you can really reliably say when it comes to NFTs. I mean, during the bear market, a lot of those are just going to be completely worthless. And if you need to like exit the market from NFTs, like good luck. Like if you have no bids on OpenSea, or if you're just expecting something that's too high, like it's really
some of the drops in these NFTs is going to make like the crypto like drops look like nothing. Like some of these NFTs are going to go to zero, aren't they? Like there's no market to buy them. I know some of them will hold value, but like you just can't make everything into an NFT. And
right.
and at some point, like it's great when these are going up and people are buying them, but like who's going to be buying NFTs during a bear market? I mean, obviously people that you can make money if you do it at the right time, but like initially there's going to be insane drops. Like they're going to have to bottom out to such a crazy degree that someone actually comes in and starts buying them again.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like the NFT, it's going to take time for that to really mature, because the closest relation I can think of NFTs, and those that played RuneScape growing up can better relate to it, but to me it's like if you have NFTs and you're trying to gamify it, then the closest resemblance I can see is you look at basically like the first form of digital rarity, which was like the party hats in RuneScape, which even today have an underground market for it where you can sell blue party hats for, I don't know, like 4,000 or 5,000 USD. But the problem with like a lot of the crypto NFTs that even try to gamify things is the reason why those had value to begin with in RuneScape was you had an entire free market economy in game where gold was used as the main utility to buy shit. So it was an inflationary currency, and then party hats were basically like Bitcoin in the game that were used as like stores of value, where the prices on them just pumped forever over time because the amount of gold that was entering, like the amount of inflation was just there wasn't really any other money sinks other than rare items in the game. So when it comes to NFTs, there's no, like, other than just perceived speculation at the time of, let's say, a pre-sale or mania during a bull market, there's really nothing that can sustainably support the economy around the NFTs. There's just not. Like, you just have a round of speculation that comes in and then exits the market, and then there's nothing to sell into. And then the point that Richard made, where there's no order book, just makes it worse. So it's like now you have this completely worthless virtual item that there's no order book you can even get any value out of. So I think it's just a waste of time to like speculate on, unless you're buying, like you're getting these really speculative buys for, like, 0.1 ETH or something like that, and you're trying to flip it for 2 ETH. But if you're buying things that are already priced multiples of Ether, I think you're just going to get wrecked whenever the next bear market comes. I would not touch that stuff. I'm gonna wait until there's more. Until there's something I know with certainty that is gonna have staying power. But I have not seen a good competitor, or really just a good rendition of a party hat in RuneScape. I have not seen the crypto version of that yet. When I see it, I'll know what it looks like. But it just does not exist in the current NFT market, which is mostly just junk trading.
I haven't even I shouldn't speak too much about it because I've done zero research in NFTs. Like I have no I'm definitely not a person to talk about it. It just to me seems like I need to look into it more, but there's so much other stuff to focus on. Like I'm just kind of I'm gonna wait. I'm in that stage where you just kind of wait and let the space develop to the point where you're like, okay, like during the bear market, I might come in and look and see like if there's anything in that space that has, that makes sense to buy at the bottom. But there's just no reason to speculate now. Like wait till at least it goes through one market cycle, see where things drop to, because you're gonna have a chance. It's not like you're missing out. Like they're all gonna bottom out. Like what's the point of getting it now? Like the risk is so high relative to the potential reward. You're gonna have to go through these at least. Like everything that's this speculative and this bubbly is gonna have a massive crash. You're gonna have like tons of opportunity. It's like Bitcoin. Like how many times did you have the chance to buy Bitcoin at the bottom of the market? Like it's the same thing with the NFTs. Like you don't have to get it now. And like there's so much going on with crypto. Like how do people research all these NFTs and then on top of that, like have all their cryptos they're researching, and then it's just it's just too much.
And that's why, at least for the NFTs, those aren't gonna. They're just not gonna sustain during the bear market. The only thing that held its value, at least during the last bear market for NFTs, were it was like land parcels and things like Decentraland, I guess something like Sandbox, but it might only hold some of its value relative to ETH, which ETH in a bear market is going to crash to whatever price it peaks out at. So the risk is just way too high to speculate on for almost like no gain. If you're just going to speculate on NFTs, you're just better off. You're better off just speculating on something that actually has an order book that you can trade on Uniswap, and then just making like a technical play on the charts, because your risk reward is not as better.
It's opportunity cost loss. Like to me, it's like if you're buying NFTs right now, like you're also missing out on just so much opportunity. Like that's the thing. Like everyone only has so much financial energy to try and increase, and what are you giving up? Like there's really no, like there's so much going on in crypto, and there's so many good opportunities right now in crypto. Like there's too many good opportunities. Like, obviously I believe in what I hold, but I look out and I see coins you guys are talking about, like SNX, and I'm like, part of me is just like, man, there's too much opportunity here. Like there's so many good plays right now.
Yeah, I would not put money into something that's not like you're better off just, if you just pick the best, or even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing in this market, during a bull market, if you basically just look at the top coins, like just look at the top 20, top 30, top 40. If you're looking, if you were to put like a random guess on a coin in like the top 100 and you just held that through a bull market, you'll fare out way better than trying to speculate on an NFT, where you're more likely to just completely lose your money. So it's just straight up gambling in the NFT market. I'm not going to speculate on that, because I did not work through a multi-year bear market just to get wrecked with bad plays with like NFTs. There's no way. So when I see opportunity later on in NFTs, I'll know. But from what I've seen so far, none of it's sustainable. It's all just artificial scarcity, and I'm not going to put multiple ETH into like artificial scarcity that has low chance of being there next cycle.
I'm gonna wait and see when Celsius starts adding certain NFTs to their app. Then I'm like, okay, these ones might have some legitimacy, right? Like there's certain things like you can vet, allow people that are, like a Celsius, they're not going to put something on there that jeopardizes the credibility of their platform. So like once an NFT goes on a legitimate platform like Celsius, it's like, okay, this might have some staying power. Like, we'll see. But what do you guys? I know it's getting pretty late here. I don't know how much more you guys want to chat, but like, what do you guys think as far as kind of where we are in the overall market cycle, and also what kind of I guess towards the top, what prices you guys? I think you guys talked about this on Moongang and stuff, but where you kind of see Bitcoin peaking, Ethereum peaking, your other plays peaking, and what you're kind of looking at as far as your price targets for the top coins you're holding right now.
Yeah, that's a good question. As far as where things peak, I have no idea, honestly, where this market's going to peak. I'm just going to look at I just have certain chart indicators I look at. Nothing's absolute. And when it looks like it's getting overheated to me, I'll take, I'll de-risk at that point. I don't think we're quite there yet. And I don't know at what price that's gonna say, like when some of those chart tools at least suggest it might be getting overheated. But it's a guess. Like, yeah. I would say the combination of that and then that aggregate that.
What percentage of a Moonbag? Also, sorry. What percentage of a Moonbag do you guys see yourself leaving in certain projects? Like, I know it'll depend on the project, but like,
you mean a HODL bag or a Moonbag?
Kind of both. Like, I guess you could say both. Like, as far as which ones you're willing to go down with the ship with, because you know that's going to come back next market cycle. Oh. Like as far as like leaving a percentage in there. Like, I mean, with like a cell token or like an SNX or whatever coin where you're just like
10%.
I guess because you kind of look at it, you're like you could see it going up a lot because no one knows exactly where the top is. It's like you could, and we don't also know like the market cycle. Like they can differ. To go completely out of I guess what I'm saying is the risk of selling out completely in a project you truly believe in long term, versus like having a percentage of your coin decrease during a bear drop, right, or a peak drop. So yeah, it's a lot of questions I just asked you about.
No, for sure.
I'm kind of rambling, but yeah, you know what I'm talking.
Right now, the only two coins, basically, there's like 4 coins in my portfolio that I'm actually going to hold a portion of it. It'll be Celsius, Hex, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, and maybe a little Litecoin just because I'm a pleb. But I'll probably just hold a little bit of those. But in terms of, so there's a difference between a HODL bag and a Moonbag. So a Moonbag, you're going to sell the Moonbag at a retarded price. So let's just say, as an example, I had 5,000 cell tokens, right? My Moonbag would be 1,000 Celsius. But I would also probably have an additional 1,000 or so. So it just depends on how big your bag is, right? The bigger your bag is, the more you can start portioning out, even though it's percentages. There comes a point where like my HODL bag's 10 Celsius. Hey, dude, just sell it. Like,
but do you make the decisions though based on like how many X's you're up in a certain investment, and then I have to take profits here?
Oh, for selling prices, yeah. That's not X's. It hits like it's certain numbers as well as like targets and shit, and then depending on what you're tracking, some people are tracking more USD cells, other people are seeing like the strength against Ethereum, but that can be misleading sometimes because you could be strong against ETH at some certain points, but then ETH gets strength, then it could be off a little bit. I typically, just because it makes it easier for everybody, I go off the USD targets. Sometimes I know they don't hit all the time, but you hit certain targets and over a certain vesting period. So it's like I have a ladder out strategy. So once we hit a certain percentage on the price, you're selling no matter what the price is. Just you have to sell something, and then if we do get these massive run-ups, that's when you sell a little heavier, and that's how you make your coins last long enough to actually be able to sell real big, and really lock in a lot of that profit.
Right. Okay. Because like it's something I've never done before. Like this is the first market cycle. I feel like I'm pretty prepared to take advantage of it, and it's just interesting, like psychologically, because you guys have done this before. Because you guys do swing trades, you've had to. It's like you've had more practice doing these ladder in, ladder out plays.
Yeah,
I've never actually done that because I've just held Bitcoin itself since I got them at a very low price. So it's like you kind of, with no training, I'm going into like the
Right.
final game, right, of the tournament, and it's with zero practice of actually psychologically be able to ladder out. I understand the concept, and I'm going to follow the indicators and all that stuff, but still, at the end of the day, you got to push the button, and you got to be okay with your decision. But you have to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, like, you're definitely going to get wrecked. But if you have a plan going in, and you have your kind of formula of what you determined, then it can work. It's crazy that you think that, like, we all invest for years, and it really comes down to these decisions at the end of these cycles.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to. I mean, you can sell earlier on, but yeah, I mean, if you get in really early, like we all got in at pretty good price points on a lot of our investments, it does give you more flexibility. And it is interesting to see where some of these, like, the smart money starts to sell, because they don't just try to sell the top. Like, you can see on some of these indicators, they start selling probably 80% into the market cycle, 70% into the market cycle. They start already taking some profits, and they ladder out over a period of months, a lot of these big investors.
Right. So yeah, it's just like, so okay. So because I know your price targets. I mean, the time you got into Celsius. Let's just say Celsius is the biggest part of your bag, right? So for someone like you, who's in Celsius, right? Your cost basis is pretty much the same as me, and as well as, like, what state are you in? Or you're in Canada, right?
I'm in Canada.
Okay, so I'm guessing long-term capital gains is almost the same thing, basically.
I already hit a year for both of Cell and Bitcoin, so
Okay.
I'm good there. I don't. In Canada, you pay half as much capital gains if you hold for at least a year. So instead of paying like 40%, I'm only paying 20%. So I've already passed those milestones, so I have a bit of freedom there.
Okay, so like for you, I mean, I wouldn't really, like, because we're still kind of early. I mean, like, honestly, I've been selling, like, having some selling strategy probably above $20 would probably be better for you, because you have such a big bag compared to the guy getting in right now, right? So you're slowly, what the selling for you we hit like $20, right? Or $15 or $25, but at a certain point you got to choose sort of a target, and then at that point you may choose, okay, I'm going to sell interest payments only into USDC or into gold, whatever kind of floats your boat at that point. And then as the weeks go on, you're continuing to sell interest on Celsius and some, maybe not the other altcoins, but like maybe just Celsius, because it's such a big portion of your bag. Oh, wait, what altcoins? I'm sorry. I mean, I mean Celsius. And then what you could be doing is either rolling that into more BTC, because that's a little bit easier to kind of like feel where the top is going to be, or just go into cash basically and start building a cash reserves at that point. Then as the prices keep going higher and higher, every time we get like a price rise, maybe you do it in fives, or maybe you do it in probably fives is a little better than going to tens, because obviously, as once we're at $20, a 10% move is $2, right? So as soon as we go into the $40 range, a 10% move is $5 move. So I think fives will probably be better in terms of selling. But I've talked to a couple guys that are selling at every $2.50 increments on Celsius. I think fives fine. So every time it goes five, you do maybe like a 1% sell of the bag, along with the interest payment that week, and just slowly trickle out. The thing is like you won't run through the whole bag in time, right? Because even if you're doing 1% sells along with interest payments, you'll like there's 52 weeks in a year. You're not going to sell half the bag during that time, and then so you're cashing something out, and then also you still have a majority of the bag there. So when the prices really get ridiculous, you can start selling a little heavier, 2.5%, 5% sells of the bag, and then really get a lot of money out of the market at that point. And you have the ability of time. So you're just slowly sitting back, just getting cash rich, and then probably earning in Celsius as well. I mean, probably earning in stable coins in the meantime as well.
It's just going to be, yeah. I mean, I agree with what you're saying as far as like, having that sort of a strategy, right? And it's just like also to think about, okay.
We call that a drip drop.
Yeah, like if you could go that route. You could also sell like a little bit larger chunks, try to get somewhat close to the top, but there's just different ways to go about it. But they're all, right. It's definitely good to have something in place, some sort of a strategy.
You have to get used to selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not like people like people's
Well, I mean,
hands.
I've done that, right? I know that in the past, like this is years ago, right? I've made some clear mistakes, but I remember holding EOS when it went up to $20. I bought it around 5. I held it all the way up to 20, and then all the way back down to 1, and then obviously sold at 250. So, like you like everyone's kind of probably experienced that if they've been in crypto long enough, where you hold something way too long. And with Celsius, it's really interesting to me. It's going to be very interesting to see how Celsius does during a bear market, and how we talked about this in the past. Like I'm still very curious to see how much they drop, and if they can actually, because they do seem like they do have different patterns compared to the overall market. And like during a bear market, I mean, the interest, like the buybacks don't stop, like the weekly sell purchases on the open market don't stop. They still onboard users, they still accumulate BTC. Like people are gonna want like it's almost like the app services during a bear market are like almost more valuable, because everyone that goes into risk off assets is going to want to earn yield during a bear market to accumulate, so that they can accumulate, the cryptos they want for the next cycle. So like, yeah, like I just really wonder, if Celsius is, even during a bear market, if the Celsius platform and ecosystem is growing still at a decent rate, like it'll slow down a bit if there's less hype in the space, but they're still going to be onboarding a lot of people, and they're still going to be growing. So the token, I mean, it could hold its value to a large extent compared to the rest of the market. Like it is possible.
Yeah, I think it'll be it will be, in terms of altcoins, just because I think of how much economic mass will still be on the platform. It will be one of the coins that bottoms out after Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's going to be leading it, because that's what's mostly going to be the AUM. Is going to be the Bitcoin that's in the app that's left over, because there's just going to be some people that sell. And we do have more hodlers, so we'll be able to hold. But a lot of people are going to sell their coins. It's going to break apart. I mean, this is not popular to say, but it's just true. It's going to break a bit of the positive feedback loop. We won't loot. Like we might still have that big amount of users, but in terms of active, like depositors, might go down for a bit.
I wonder how many people are going to straight up just leave the app and just like leave crypto. Like when you're used to holding something that's generating
20% forever.
Yeah, I mean it's possible, right? Like you could see those larger percentages leave. I just wonder how many people can go from earning a yield on a weekly basis to taking their money out and going back to a bank.
Oh, like yeah.
Like I just don't see leaving. Like whatever you're in, just that addiction of passive income every week, to give that up. Like I just don't see many people being like, oh, this is like, unless they just get completely wrecked. Like, why would you leave an app that's giving you yields just because the market dropped? Like and go back to a bank that is just giving you absolutely nothing. Like it just seems like a weird thing to do. And I know some people emotional. Will do it.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
It's got you see like some people will probably hit $1 million for the first time 6-8 months from now towards December, and or hit 6 figures and be like, oh my gosh, yes, and then just see that and then just be just so pissed off. And then what's going to happen is that more than likely, because there's so many more because like contrary to popular belief, like 2017 is really when retail came into crypto. Really, that's when they came in. That's where we all came in. The guys before that, it wasn't that much people. So there really isn't that much evidence. So there's the actual like evidence, and the video evidence for what happened was actually recorded from 2017, 2018, 2019 of the bull market. That was actually recorded. The previous pumps, even though there's like the Bitcoin forums and there's all this crap, it wasn't that well documented compared to the documentation of the 2017 bull market with regular retail. So what's going to happen is, I think 6 months of people just fucking go MIA, and then they'll come back. The money will flow back in. And that's what I'm trying to say, that let's just say when Bitcoin bottoms, then we'll probably see Celsius bottom like pretty close soon after as well.
Yeah, I think you're going to be looking at, I think this next bear market is going to be very long. It's going to take years.
I should take this guy out of the chat.
No, it's just the, like, historically, if you look at Ethereum, it took 2.5 years this time.
Yeah.
So
I think Ethereum. Well, you know what?
It's it. The whole market.
No, yeah.
The whole market. Unfortunately, the whole market in a bear market follows Bitcoin. There's just no evidence of coins decoupling from
Besides
Bitcoin
Doge.
during bear markets. It's just the defense mechanism because it just has the most trust in the market. So that's the first one that money ends up funneling into. So
damn, dude, all these platform plays are gonna get so fucked, dude.
Oh no, yeah,
Oh
like
Oh, I agree.
God,
I agree with
it's
you, man.
so
Like,
bad.
I think the platforms are going to drop the most. Like,
yeah,
like I think it's the same thing that happened last market cycle. Like the platforms got absolutely wrecked, and it's gonna be the exact same this cycle. Like you said, they're gonna get like
Ethereum will
all
hold
these
that a
platforms
little
are
bit
gonna.
better.
yeah.
A little bit better than last time.
Ethereum will hold up a little bit better. The thing is,
They have less ICO bag holders this time.
well, if you look at the network value, basically everything outside of Ethereum, like everything else doesn't really you're gonna end up, like I was saying, in this bull market where you have these multi-$100 billion ghost chains where there's just no economic activity. So because there's no economic activity, the price is going to dump. Like it's going to dump really hard during the bear market. So yeah, that's
Cardano's
oh my
fucking.
God.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's gonna be a flashback.
Yeah. that'll actually probably set up for
that might touch a penny, 2 pennies again. That might touch 2 cents again.
You think it'd be that? Yeah,
dude, it could be that bad, dude. I mean, like at least 5 cents. Okay,
Does the Cardano? I've heard. I know someone that's just holds Cardano. I know a friend kind of that holds just Cardano, and they've done extremely well with it. But they also got in really low. But they were saying something about the Cardano Foundation. They own a lot of Cardano. Mm-hmm. And they sold during the peak last cycle, or they sold a close like so like basically they crashed their own token, right? And then they bought back in.
Metallic fucking Charlie Lee.
and that yeah, exactly. And people don't talk about that, but that right. I don't know. Like he was saying something about that. Like I could be wrong on some of this information, but something regarding the fact that the foundation played the market cycle extremely well. Like in a sense, crashed their own token last market cycle, but they also bought heavy at the bottom of this cycle, Cardano. So the amount of money they've made, as far as the foundation has, like Cardano has a lot of money, I believe.
Oh yeah,
and they hold a lot of tokens.
I mean, Charles Hopkinson, I like was fucking like doing trips in Mongolia.
That's funny.
Oh man, I mean, but they also, here's the other thing too that spooked me out too with Cardano and like Polkadot and all these coins is that they also they also ran to Daddy China or Hong Kong. They ran to Hong Kong for money, like all of it. IOHK funded by Hong Kong, fucking well, I guess he doesn't like the Hong Kong talk.
Yep. Well,
yep. Capitulated. I guess that's when we buy in, you guys. Yep. Yeah. Motley will be straight death. I mean, Motley. Jesus Christ. I mean, Cardano will be straight death in a bear market, but it will bottom at some point. It will bottom faster than I think. I think it'll bottom faster than. So ETH will bottom first in terms of the platform plays, then Cardano, then Polkadot. I'd have to put it like that. In Polkadot, because it just keeps having more of its supply from the 2-year ICO. Like I mean,
it's like that lockup where it slowly bleeds into the market basically.
Yeah. And do you know there's a bunch of retards that are going to like, all right, basically the best strategies for the parachain auctions. Oh, what's up, guy? For the parachain auctions, right? Because there's 4 options, right? You have a 6 month, 1 year, year and a half, 2 years. Most people are going to do these 2: 6 months, 2 years. That's it. So you're going to have sort of like some middle ground guys, a little bit that the dumping won't be that bad. It's like, oh, you guys, the price is going to hold up, you guys, in the bear market. It's going to hold up, you guys. The 2 years comes in, fucking slams the price. We can't go no lower, you guys. We've just hit. We're at $6, you guys. We can't hit any lower. You can see fucking I hit $2.
Yeah. Well,
which coin are you talking about? Which coin are you guys talking about?
Polkadot.
The lockup might actually help. Well, it depends. Like if there's a lot of supply,
Right.
it's like if you look at the staking ladder on Hex, it's like 2030 is like a susceptible like bear market year.
Yeah.
So it's like you have that wherever you have these huge unlocks coming out. If there's a lot that are coming out at 2 years, yeah, that's a lot of supply that can get dumped on the market sometime during the bear market.
I haven't figured out Solana. I think Solana will do a little bit better, but it still is going to get.
I think it's going to get total.
No, it's going to get fucked bad because FTX will be down on volume like crazy as well.
I just expect like every platform that's like just this whole market is going to get totally.
Can you imagine if I made Doge decks in the bear market? Uniswap Doge decks. The fees were paid in Doge.
Finally brings some utility. The thing about Dogecoin, I'm surprised no one's tried to do anything with it because there's a lot of people that are holding
They're
it.
retarded.
Right?
They surely should. There's
so much
free money. Free money to make money.
They could do. I mean, I think just the fact that they've achieved what they've achieved with Dogecoin is insane. And the meme has created a network. They can leverage the community to actually do something with that project. Like they totally could. I'm surprised they haven't because there's opportunity there.
Doge.
I think the problem is there's no infrastructure to do it with the proof of work chains. It's the same reason you can't build like DeFi products off of like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero. You just can't. There's no good way for scripting. It's like you use Lightning Network, which just sucks balls. Terrible. So there's really just no infrastructure to build off of the proof of work chains other than just it trying to be like a store of value and really nothing more. That's like where the utility ends.
I would be a multi-billionaire. I say multi-billionaire. I probably would end up with something between 500,000 BTC. All I'd have to do is create Bitcoin decks and figure out some way to like ZK roll up the information onto a block or something onto Coinbase and onto Bitcoin and just keep it layer 1. Bro, the amount of these maxi cocksuckers I would have, all their money would be mine.
The problem is you wouldn't be able to do it on. You can't. It's impossible to do on.
Okay, Wasabi, I'm having a dream right now. You let me have this. Let me have this, Wasabi. Stop.
I would love to see what you would do with like $1 billion in the crypto space. Like just the amount of wreckage, the amount of drama you would cause, and the amount of stuff you would do to just like.
Oh, dude,
you're right.
Like you could just bully the whole entire crypto space.
You won't be able to do it with the Bitcoin community because they're never gonna do a hard fork. You'd probably be better off doing it with
you don't need a hard fork. You just need all you need to do is compress it on my side and then just input it into a block like a normal transaction. That's it. It's not that.
You can't.
I don't think it's that difficult, but like I don't know. I'm not a developer. One of these days, I'm in the bear market. I'm gonna become a developer, and then I'll know how little I know, or I know like, oh no, these guys are just pussy, and then I'll be able to just talk my shit. But until then,
you'd have to do it. You'd probably have to do it on Litecoin, and then you'd have to do a hard fork to get smart contracts.
I should call my hedge fund counterintuitive. That'd be a great name, actually. Counterintuitive.
You'd actually probably be able to sell it easier to the Litecoin community, theoretically speaking. Bitcoin community, no chance. Litecoin community, that's actually plausible.
Dude, there's so much chains that have nothing on them that I could build shit on and just make oodles, and then help out the community too, because I'd pump it. Because that's all the community needs sometimes is just something to rally around. A narrative. Yeah. A narrative. There we go.
Well, the Litecoin community would love a narrative to like pump the coins. So
I couldn't wait around for Charlie to pump my coins anymore, so I did it myself. Yeah. Wasabi. Let a man have his dreams.
I'm just telling you what the technical hurdle is.
Dude, like just being friends with Wasabi is like hard. You know, it's just he's like not cool.
You're more of a like realist, I guess, Wasabi, as far as like you.
Oh, you too, Plan B?
Oh, what happened? I missed that. What happened? Totally missed that.
I was like, you too, Plancy? I was about to kick you out too.
No, it's just your background, maybe being an engineer and stuff. You're more of a realist, right? Like it's you see stuff either works or doesn't work. Like with engineering, it's not like it's gonna partially work. Like you don't deal with stuff in the engineering world that partially works. It has to work or it's not gonna work.
Yeah,
is that true? Like that's part of your mindset. Like when you're
that is true.
How do females operate? I don't understand.
Wait, what? You're talking about
I mean, they partially work, right?
Females partially work. That's yeah.
Plancy, you cannot say I'm wrong on that.
On what?
That they partially work.
Females?
Yes.
Yes, I'll agree with that for sure.
What about you? Look into crypto.
Which females are you referring to specifically? Because there's a varying degree.
Okay, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah, I would say that applies.
Okay,
in most
circumstances. We're all in consensus. This block may pass now. we got three validators.
We got 3 validators. Yeah,
3 confirmations. Oh. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail the conversation. No, but there is some no. Okay, let's just get off this fucking train right now. But like, dude, I have so much respect for fucking Caitlin Long. Dude, she's awesome, dude. She is like doing God's work right now, man. The Lord's work.
Yeah, there's reasons. There's definitely also like outside risks that I take into consideration with crypto, right? Like, especially when you accumulate significant amount of money in various coins, is just that the black swan. Like in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, okay, as far as like cashing out, maybe a little bit on the earlier side than you initially wanted to in certain coins, you always have to factor in the black swan factor with certain regulators or just. I mean, it's not. It's not looking like that's going to happen to a large degree within like all the top coins, but. There's just black swans. Like there's black swans that can happen, and it's just something to always factor in a new sector. Is we assume everything's going to keep going the way it is, and as the space gets larger, like there could be significant black swans that occur, and it's a factor to always take into consideration when you're only. I mean, I'm talking to myself probably right now more than anything, but when you have like your entire life savings in one asset class, and it's a new asset class where there's still questions on regulation and what's going to happen, right? It's not the most exciting thing to talk about, but it's like, yeah, it's just something I always think about. Even though I'm like obviously full on crypto and I believe in it to the crazy extent, and everything looks pretty positive. Like so far, with regulation and stuff, like things seem to be progressing in a way that's favorable to the space in general.
Oh, definitely. Can we talk? I mean, like as a closing thing because it's getting really late now. Jesus, it's pretty late now.
Yeah, starting to get into that rambling hour at the end here.
Could you go, because I don't think a lot of the guys in here have heard the story and stuff of like how you became sort of an EOS maxi and how you got out of it? Because I think some people, I mean they're probably not listening to this because like Celsius people are like coin agnostic, which is what I like about them, is that they're not too much on the maxi train, but it's you were like the first person I ever knew that was just all in on one coin, and it was EOS, which gave you kind of like a good because you were one of the few people that I talked to that told me like, holy crap, like these guys own a ton of Bitcoin. I was actually going to bring that up. I was actually going to mention that, like as far as sorry, finish your question before I. Oh no. I mean that was pretty much it. It was just like they managed to act, instead of rugging and running away, they just reinvested it back into crypto, which is kind of crazy and consolidated power.
Yeah, like Block One is you don't see them in a lot of headlines, but they're one of the biggest. And actually, I forget about them sometimes because I think about like, okay, what are the biggest like players in the entire crypto space? But Block One, behind the scenes, like they're a private company, they're not public, and I think they are the largest private company in all of crypto. And probably the most powerful. That raise they did was so insane, and the way it ended up working out. And I've mentioned this before, but they raised like I think it was around $5 billion. The entire raise was in ETH, So it was a year-long fundraise. They were hyped up so much, and basically they raised, all that money in ETH, and then they started to sell it at the top of the market cycle. And they basically crashed. Like, they were a huge factor in the 2017 crash. Like,
Yeah.
to what extent? I mean, I believe that it was a perfect storm of events, because you had the Ethereum, ICO boom, and that was it was a bubble point where everything had gone up to such a crazy degree. Obviously, Bitcoin's, run up was crazy, and that led to the cycle. But also, Block One was selling Ethereum, and they just started to crash basically the price of Ethereum.
Intentionally.
Yeah, intentionally, because it was the competition, right? For them, they were trying to replace Ethereum. So they didn't care about how they sold it. I mean, they basically just got out, they got into dollars, they sold their ETH, and they accumulated, they cashed out. They played their treasury so well, compared to the actual project and how shitty it is. They played their treasury it just perfectly played. They crashed the price of Ethereum significantly, which they didn't care about, but that had a massive effect on the overall ecosystem, because a lot of these ICO products were holding Ethereum. So they got screwed over. It affected, and then they started to crash, and like, it just had this massive effect. So what they did is they ended up taking their 5 billion or whatever ended up being in cash. They ended up buying essentially bonds. They ended up holding some in cash, and then the last time I saw, they had over 140,000 Bitcoin, and then they also hold, I believe, 1 or 2 billion bonds, and then 1 or 2 billion in cash. So they're holding, their treasury is very solid, put it that way. It's a solid treasury. And I was actually thinking, just as we were talking, I'm a bit tired, but I was just thinking, like, they have 140,000 Bitcoin, but they're a private company. They have shareholders. When Bitcoin hits like over 100K, that's $14 billion in Bitcoin. Yep. At some point, they're going to have to start taking some profits. Like they've got in, I believe their average buy range was actually pretty low, close to the bottom. Like, they accumulated that 140,000 Bitcoin. I know for a fact it was all under 10K. So they're sitting on a shit ton of realized gains. They're actually probably sitting on more unrealized gains than anyone else in all of crypto. More than Michael Saylor, more than any of these other guys we hear about.
Yeah.
Like, because if they got in, I think their average buy was between 6 to 10K. So they could easily be sitting on, what is that, like 12 billion in profits, or 10 billion in profits, or sorry, in unrealized profits.
Yeah, I mean, they could be sitting on a lot and everything.
Yeah, like that's a lot of Bitcoin profit, like a lot of unrealized profits. So if they start to, sell again at the top of this Bitcoin market cycle, start to cash out a large amount of their Bitcoins, like, they're a private company, they can do whatever they want, but maybe just depends. It just depends. I have no idea, but they could basically crash the market if they wanted to again. The same company, private company, could play a role in crashing this market again. If they start to cash out, even if they cash out half their Bitcoin, that's, you're looking at 70,000 Bitcoin. That's basically like, it'd be bigger. It'd be a bigger deal if they sold half their bags than Tesla sold all their.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's, something we always forget. Keep October in the back of your head. October. That's going to be a really interesting month. We're having the custodian for the Mt. Gox coins have another meeting about the funds in October. So yay, market. Yay.
Yeah. What do you think that could play a role in also the crash of the cycle? Is if they, yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind. That's the kind of a black swan I'm talking about. I've completely forgot about that, and I forget about that sometimes. But that is another.
I'm watching those motherfuckers.
Yeah, man, that's another thing to be aware of. Those sorts of events that.
If I was the fucking Japanese government, bro, I'd just print. I would just print take this yen, give me the Bitcoin 1 for 1. Let's go, bam, and then just cold storage that shit. That would be the smartest thing Japan could do.
I'm just picturing like one day in October. I just see like a total 180 with like Litecoin where it's like optimism and like like high price targets for just like sell everything.
Oh, just like out of nowhere because
well,
of
it's
that.
just like because of the
You s-
Gox coins. He
You just
Yeah,
hear me
right.
screaming. You just hear me
Yeah.
screaming.
You're just
Sell
on live
everything.
stream. You're just on live stream. You're like the guys that when the stock market's crashing and you're just freaking out. You know, you're just going off about like it's all coming down. This whole thing is, right? But yeah, what do you think is going to happen with that then? Like, what is it looking like? Like I guess we don't know exactly, but like, what's your speculation on what could happen with the Gox coins?
They'll probably start slowly selling off. Like it'd be nice if we had like a thing, but like honestly, they're holding on to a lot of Bitcoin Cash. I mean, you could see this. This could be the beginning of the death of Bitcoin Cash and SV and stuff because they have all those forks. So they have a 1-for-1 copy for all the Bitcoin they've had. They've been able to claim all the Bitcoin Cash and all the Bitcoin SV, all the Bitcoin Gold, all the Bitcoin Diamond. Basically, all those forks are gonna get fucked. When fucking Mt. Gox starts selling, like, oof. That's why Roger Vere's like doing so much shit right now.
Oh, I noticed that. Dude.
R.I.P.
Dude,
R.I.P.
Roger Ver got wrecked.
Don't you speak on the dead like that, Wasabi.
Well,
just stop.
I'm
What
just
did
saying,
he do? What happened? I'm sorry. I'm oblivious.
he lost all his Bitcoin.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
How did he just sold it all, or he just never had it?
Well, so what happened was he sided on the
There you go,
Bitcoin Cash
smiling
side
again.
of
I
the
can
fork.
hear you smiling.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
He sided on the Bitcoin Cash side of the fork.
He took a wrong bet.
Yeah, he probably lost like 80 to 90% of his Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Which he probably still holds a lot relative to most
us.
people, but he's made some recovery behind the scenes this cycle at least. So
Yeah. I almost know for a fact. I can't say for a fact, but I can almost say for a fact that like he invested quite a lot into shitcoins and he did okay. You know that whole thing about like Roger Ver. So supposedly this is false, but supposedly false. So yeah, I think Roger Ver was putting a feeler out there. Like they were saying that Bitcoin.com was for sale for $100 million.
oh, I see what you're saying.
I think, and he's like, no, that's not me. I did not do that. He was just like, I wonder if someone would bite. They'll put it out there like, no, that's fake. I'm not selling Bitcoin.com for $100 million, you guys. I'm not selling it for $100 million. Don't even try to offer me $100 million. Did I mention $100 million, you guys? Okay, good.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that.
Don't you do it, Plenty. Do not offer me $100 million because I'm not going to take it for that website. Just stop. No, $100 million for the site.
Michael Saylor sold voice.com for $30 million to Block One.
Wait, say that again.
Michael Saylor sold voice.com to Block One for $30 million.
Plebs.
That's how much money Block One has. They bought Michael Saylor's .com, voice.com. But yeah, like Bitcoin.com. I mean, the value of it could be insane. But obviously, like what you just said is probably true. He's probably seeing how much money he could potentially get for it, right? Obviously.
Yeah. Then he's like, dude, because it could get so crazy. He's like, I'm going to giggle so hard when he's like, Bitcoin.com sold for fucking $500 million. And then I'll be like, in the end, he went off, right? He rode off to the sunset. Okay, it seems getting late. I'm starting to ramble and fucking giggle too much.
Yeah, I'm tired too here. But there's so many like just storylines that are happening within the space as well, right? Like just bizarre. There's a lot of bizarre characters, right? In this ecosystem, you get a lot of interesting people and projects. And
North Korea's dictator offered him $100 million for it. Junk himself.
Well, everything's like that's the thing, right? Like CoinMarketCap got sold to Binance. Like all these, everyone's got a price tag as far as what they're pretty much willing to sell something for. And then you have a lot of like big entities that are going to want to buy up this.
Honestly,
yeah, it's pretty nuts to think about. Like to have some of the stuff is going to sell for insane amounts at some point here.
Yeah,
like it's not going to stay at these players are going to eventually exit. Is my point. They're not going to be around forever. They're going to get bought out.
Do you know one of the most badass fucking domains that's worth so much money? Like sex.com. Every year, it's just these kids or people just type in sex.com to see what happens. That site makes millions of dollars in ads for people going onto that website. There's some dude. I remember seeing a story when I was how old was I? Must have still been in high school. This dude was like passively making like $3 million a year, just on sex, just sitting on
just from yeah. No, totally, man. Like,
just can you imagine being that dude? He was just a normal ass dude. He's like, yeah, I went on the internet and just decided to get sex.com.
Oh, totally. Like how do you, like back then, like just to think about what you could have bought at the time and how much it's worth now. Like some of those domains, like they've just gone up. Like, and people will say, well, like that's what's going to happen with NFTs. Like these are scarce, whatever. Anyways, but yeah, it's just with the websites. It's so clear now looking back the value of some of those websites. Like having those domains is just like you said. It's the traffic flow. It's the internet. It's the fact that there's just so much traffic going through those sites. But
all right, you guys.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, I'm just talking at this point. I'm not saying anything. I sucks that Kevin couldn't get in here, man. I was hoping to. What happened with Kevin? Did he say in the chat what happened?
Oh, something to do with like his phone or laptop or something with the place he's living at. Yeah, but we'll remedy that situation eventually. So yeah. All right, you guys. Good night. Sell on.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for chatting and have me on here. We'll catch up more soon here for sure.
Yeah. Oh, 24-hour live stream videos are going to come out. Should be out tomorrow. So
nice, cool. And yeah, we'll do another 24 here in hopefully another month or two.
Oh, really? Okay, perfect. Yeah, let me know.
Well, once we hit $10, right?
Okay, but just please let me know ahead of time. Like I said, I need to be prepped.
Oh yeah, well no, just look at the price though. Like once I don't know when you want to do it, but like once we basically get over 10 and stay over 10 for a few days, we'll fire it up. Whatever it's good for you. It doesn't have to be fuck tomorrow. we're like 24 hours.
You open your mouth and that happens.
Oh no, but like we don't have to necessarily do it on the exact day or whatever you guys want to do, right? You got to be rested. You can't destroy your life at the same time, but whatever works for you guys, I'm game, so we'll make it happen.
Yeah, it won't destroy.
And Wasabi's,
I'm making too many Xbox and PlayStations over here.
Yeah, no, it's easy during a bull market to have more energy and just keep going with this sort of stuff. Anyways,
all right, good night, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night, man. Take care.
Peace. Later, Franklin St. Hex.